Welcome to another episode of the Bastard Sermon. I'm one of your three hosts, Cody Hucker.
Patrick Seda.
And Luke Young.
And this week, we have a very, very special guest. We have Larry Roberts. Larry is, you might know him from the History Channel show Alone, which you can check out Season 2 and Season 5 of on Hulu right now. Larry's appeared in both the Rainforest season and in the Mongolia episodes. Larry also has a YouTube channel that you can check out where he's got a bunch of survival tips, ways to build fires, and stuff like that. Boys, give it up for Larry Roberts. Thanks for joining us, Larry. Say what's up so that people know what you sound like.
You bet, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're like a real bad motherfucker, dude. Like, I'm so excited to learn all kinds of interesting things. So you're like a survivalist. Is like how'd that get started? Was that like as a hobby, or is this like a passion throughout your whole life?
Well, it was kind of a passion throughout my whole life, but I didn't really connect with anybody when I was younger. Like, I was really into Native Americans and their lifestyle and their culture and things, and I was able to take some classes and read some books and stuff, but I really, in my lifestyle, I didn't have anybody to connect with that knew anything about that. And then I got married and had kids and stuff. But then in community college, I was able to research even a little bit further into some Native American stuff. But then it wasn't really until the first survival shows came on that I realized there were other people out there who were, first of all, more knowledgeable than me by far, but then also just had this passion or this interest that I did. So then I was able to reach out, and now there's this, it's really mainstream almost now, this huge community where you can just, and, my YouTube's really tiny, but even just with different YouTube stuff, it's just crazy how it's exploded. So I've had the passion my whole life, but I really dove hard into it after my kids started getting closer to graduation in high school. And actually, the Discovery Channel had a show on called Dual Survival. And that was with Dave Canterbury and Cody Lundin. And one time we were watching it, and I just loved that show. And my wife looked at me and she said, research these guys and figure it out and take a couple classes. And by then I had already kind of experimented by myself, researched YouTube, started my own YouTube channel, all that stuff, and then took some classes, and then it just kind of blossomed from there.
Where can our fans listen to the
like
YouTube?
The survival stuff is like my favorite shows, period. So I think it's fascinating and it's great. So, sorry, Cody, go on.
I was just going to ask Larry to plug his YouTube channel so that the listeners could check it out.
I can't hear.
I was going to ask you to plug the YouTube channel. What is the name of your YouTube channel so that our listeners can check it out?
It's Learning at 40 Plus, and it's been so long since I even posted a video. I think it's LRNING or something like that, 40 Plus, Learning at 40 Plus. Mm-hmm. It's been a while.
Did you have the YouTube channel before you got on like Alone and all that?
Yeah, and if you just research Larry Roberts Alone on YouTube, probably after the History Channel videos, I should come up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw that.
For me, for the YouTube, the reason really that I did it was just because. So, when I got into Facebook and stuff like that, I belonged to a lot of these different bushcrafting groups, and I was able to connect with a lot of people that I didn't realize that had this passion like I do. So I did this YouTube channel to show off some of my skills, but then also to, like, I would read like a survival book, and then I would go out into my backyard and see if I could recreate that skill. So I would break down the survival, create a skill, and go in my backyard and see if I could recreate that skill in my woods. And I figured if I could create it in my woods, which I have, nice woods, but there isn't a ton of resources like there are in certain places. So there's certain skills that are great for certain areas, but I'm looking more for the skills that are more applicable for a broader general area, just this huge area, just, a general. So I would just go out back, YouTube it, and if it worked, I'd put it on YouTube. And if it didn't work, then sometimes I'd put it on YouTube. But it was just more of a learning like bringing people along with my learning process.
That's super cool. That's really cool.
I saw one of your videos where it was you showed people how if you just had a couple batteries, a couple 1.5 amp batteries, and a bit of steel wool, it didn't take much. It was just a little bit of steel wool.
Right.
You were breaking. I didn't have any idea how any of this shit works, and I'm a fucking moron. So for me to really grasp something it's a long stretch for me. I can't sit down and read something and understand it, but through a video, I can really understand sometimes if it's not that complicated. But your description of how it all worked and how if you ran them in sequence or whatever, the amps would go up by double. And then that would allow you to generate a spark that goes into the steel wool, and the steel wool will hold it without shocking you, and then you can put it into your tender and start a fire. It was a really interesting video, and you did a very good job of describing it and like breaking it all down. And I did see in that specific video, you had said that you had done the video before, but it wasn't as well done, so you had decided to kind of to redo this or revisit this. Is this something that you're doing with a lot of like older videos that you have on your YouTube, where you're going back and finding a couple ones that you didn't have the editing prowess for and going back to redo them so that they come across a lot better?
There's been a few that I've done that way for sure. The problem that I've ran across with YouTube, so before Alone, I was super into YouTube. I absolutely loved it. I loved the interaction, and I loved actually dissecting my video and critiquing myself, trying to make myself better and stuff like that. But then after Alone, dude, I filmed so much, and
it was probably so normal for you to film so much after that show.
Yeah, but it's filming yourself doing these skills takes so much time. I mean, it's even on the show where, you know, they gave us all the equipment and I didn't even have to do the editing. Just the setup, the setup of the camera, the lugging the camera around, no matter how good you are, every time you perform a skill, it's not going to be successful. I don't know, I don't really care what it is. So you have all this stuff that's just, dude, it makes it so much harder.
Oh, I remember like my first experience, like getting into like the survival stuff. I mean, obviously I'm a huge Survivor fan. I don't know. You probably think that's like child's play.
No, I used to watch that all the time.
Yeah. We had Johnny Fairplay on once, and he told us the whole experience and how miserable it is being in the rain and all that. But I remember I first saw Les Stroud. I think that's his name.
Yeah, from Survivor Man. That's
Survivor Man, and I would always read his interviews and stuff, like how he would like set up a camera really far away and then re-walk what he just did just to get a good shot. And that's like that's got to be so much work to just travel these like temperate rainforests and these incredibly tough terrains just to get a shot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was a pain, and especially so it was a pain in two different reasons. And Vancouver Island was like the double whammy. It's because you after about 2 or 3 weeks, you're tired. You don't have the calories aren't coming in like what you're used to. And you're lugging your part of your focus is on this stupid camera, and you can only carry so much, right? You can't carry, like, if I could carry a spear and a rabbit stick or a bow and arrow or whatever. I mean, you have to adapt the way that you go about scavenging or harvesting things. And to have to bring that camera is just, it increases
like 50 pounds, right?
No, the camera wasn't like 50 pounds. The tripod was the heaviest thing of them all, I think. It was like an industrial tripod. It probably weighed 10 pounds, maybe 5 to 10 pounds, and the camera probably weighed 2 or 3 pounds. But when you haven't eaten, that stuff is like crazy. I mean, all the gear all together, the big case, yeah, for sure weighed, like 50 pounds. And when you first launched, you had to carry that and find a spot to store that. But once I stored that sucker, I didn't want to carry it any more than I had to.
Right. Now,
I was harvesting chanterelle mushrooms on Vancouver Island, and it was on a 45-degree slope, easy, with all this moss and all this rain and just slippery, muddy conditions. And you're trying to set this camera up, and the camera, the big camera they give us, isn't waterproof. But then they always want you to use the big camera if you can. But it came with like this little rain suit, which was like this umbrella that fit over this camera. And I had to make sure that wasn't in the way of the lens and all this. I mean, it was incredible. what a pain in the butt it
I'm
was.
sure, man. That's so much work.
It seems
For
like it'd be.
those for those who don't know, sorry, Cody. For those who don't know what this show is, what we're going to delve into alone, you can find it on Netflix. You can find it on Hulu. It's on History Channel. Basically, 10 bad motherfuckers go into the toughest terrain in the fucking world, it seems, like a Vancouver Island or Mongolia or the Arctic Circle or some shit. And they stay there until they're the last man standing or they're medically pooled. And they don't know the process of any, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, you're the expert. But if someone is like out, you don't know about it at all, period. And you can be out there for like up to a year. And the winner gets like $500,000. So it's a crazy show. I highly recommend it. Check that shit out. That's what we're going to delve into.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I will correct you on one thing. I mean, they say that you could be out there for a year, but I mean, they just did a 100-day challenge, and these guys were awesome. And one guy did make 100 days.
Wow.
I was
yeah.
gonna
Long fucking time.
I was gonna ask you, Larry. As far as so, spoiler alerts for anybody that hasn't seen it, but the second season, Larry's a contestant, and the Vancouver Island, super rainy the whole time. You make it 64 days throughout the entire thing, and you didn't end up winning for that. I mean, is it? It's got to be, just in my head, making it 64 fucking days away from your family. You've got kids. I mean, albeit they might be graduating or grown, or I don't know their position right now, but I mean, you got family at home. You're just in the wilderness in this horrible terrain, and it's raining the entire time. It's hell on earth. You're setting these fucking cameras up to get the right shot for these producers and whatnot, and trying to do a good job, which has got to be detrimental for you getting food or being able to survive in general. After all that hell that you've gone through, 64 days, and then just to lose after that, that's got to be an incredibly crushing feeling. How did it feel
punch.
for you at the end of that, when it's got to be like Pat said, a punch right to your nuts? Like, it would just be horrible.
That's basically what it was right there, dude. A punch. It was. I went into this thing not really caring about the money. I wanted to test my skills, but I'm a very, very competitive person.
Yeah.
And I really am stubborn, and I know myself, and I figured I had a good chance. You know what I mean? And to make it, I mean, I put my body through hell. I'm still dealing with the effects that my body went through,
Wow.
and emotionally, you know, everything. And to come that close and win second just blew.
Man,
I mean, it sucked.
How
But-
far off were you from the winner? How far did the winner get?
Well, they come in
Patrick.
and so as soon as I tap, the winner won.
Motherfucker.
So basically what they do is as soon as they get a hold of the winner's family and can bring them out there, that's
Oh.
when they, release them basically. So I think Dave lasted probably 2 days longer than me.
Okay.
So my wife got an email saying, hey, you know, get ready to go to Canada. We can't tell you anything, but just you have everything in order, right? And then, of course, Dave's family got the same thing. And then I tapped, and Dave's family got to go. I used to give her a hard time because not that long ago, she used to give me a hard time that I didn't get her a free trip to Canada.
Dang.
I had a question. I didn't know about Alone or the competition or your adventure in this show at all. But what I did have a huge fascination with was History Channel's Life Below Zero. And it's these people living out in the bush, just up in the Arctic in the cold, and then these boys told me about you and this show, and I was like, I never even thought about it being hard to live anywhere not cold, you know. So I was right away intrigued, but I also wanted to know, you did this for a competition, and that show that I was talking about, Life Below Zero, a lot of those maniacs do it just to live out there. Like, I want to live out here in the bush. This is what I do. Come film me. I know you have a wife and kid now, but at any point would you find yourself living out in the bush not for a competition, but because you enjoyed it?
Oh, dude, that's been my dream since I can remember.
Yeah.
The problem is that I don't have a skill, or my life hasn't led me down the path to be able to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm an electrician, and I'm getting old now. I've only got about 10 years left till retirement. After that, maybe, but I mean, my whole life, my dream property would have been someplace like in Montana or someplace out, or even Alaska, where you had to use a helicopter to come out and get me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I was able to do. I live in Minnesota, and I was able to do a hobby farm for quite some time. I was able to not have to buy any meat basically for about 10 years. I hunt my property. I raise my meat, stuff like that.
Sustenance hunting.
Sustenance hunting, and then sustenance raising of animals too.
Oh, okay.
Livestock, steers and ducks and chickens and geese and goats, and making goat milk cheese. And so, I mean, we did all that
Goat
stuff.
cheese.
And I love all that stuff and everything, but it's a romantic idea, and some people can do it, and more power to them, and it's awesome. But I never had the finances to be able to, or the smarts to be able to figure out how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And plus, I didn't want, for me, when I got married young. I got married when I was 18,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my first kid when I was 21. So, which was a conscious, because that's what I wanted. I wanted a family. My family sucked for the most part.
Yeah.
So I wanted a good family, and my wife wanted the same thing. And so I kind of put off some of my things, and she put off some of her things to just make a compromise. And it's been pretty good. So that's what we did.
That's good. I mean, things obviously got to be going well. You guys have been married for so long.
Yeah.
So you guys probably are totally cool with everything, it seems.
She's a pain in the ass, dude.
No worries. She'll never listen to this.
For 30 some odd years, man. And my son's almost 30 now.
Holy
Oh,
shit.
yeah,
Wow.
it's been 3 years.
Yeah, I'm about to get married. I'm pretty excited for it. No, the COVID thing's making everything so damn complicated.
Don't do it. You'll regret it.
But so let's talk about, like, okay, so how did you get on this show? I mean, you had the YouTube channel. You were like, I want to test myself, but like, how'd you find out about it? How'd you get on? What was the process like till you got on the island?
Well, I actually remember Dave Canterbury? I said that I got into a lot of this from Dual Survival
And the
Dave
Cody
Canterbury.
guy and
Yeah.
Discovery
Yep.
Channel and all that.
So I took a couple classes from him, and the last class I took from him was an advanced survival class. And one of the one of the participants or whatever students was Josh Chavez from season 1. And this was before
yeah.
he had season 1. But we took the class together, and then so that advanced class, they did teach us stuff, and Dave, told us this right up front. They do teach us stuff, but basically what it is it's a test for your skills and to see how good you are. And right before then, I may or may not had a couple of adult beverages and had a brand new knife and slit my hand wide open. It was about 3 days before I went to this advanced class, and I had 11 stitches in my hand.
Oh, man.
But I went there, and I actually got top student in the class. But
That motherfucker.
yeah, Josh was there. And I was just super zoned in. I was super, geeked out by just taking this survival class and sleeping in the mud and just doing this stuff. I just loved it. But when we got done, some of us started trying out for different shows, because at that time, a lot of these shows were popping up. Not all of them made it to network or anything, but I applied for a few of them. And then Josh contacted me and said, hey, check out this show. I got accepted for this. And I watched season 1, and I was like, holy crap, it's not just, because I didn't even care how scripted it was. If I got into a show that was potentially scripted,
Yeah.
I was going to make my own journey. I was going to
Yeah.
make it, screw you guys. But then Alone came along, and it was like, you don't have to do anything. You just be yourself, film everything, and it's all on you, And so I jumped at the chance. That's like it's like only being able to practice for games or something, and then all of a sudden be allowed to go into the Super Bowl.
That's awesome.
Like,
Man.
so Josh told me about it. I applied on the internet about it. They sent me, or I had been doing YouTube already at that time. So then I made my own video and then sent it back to them. And I got a Skype interview, and it just happened to work out.
That's wild.
That's
Then
fantastic.
we all
Now,
and you know the story where we go to New York for the boot camp and all that.
No, I don't know anything about that.
I don't know that either. Yeah, tell that.
Yeah, I want to know, like, you meet all these people beforehand too?
No, only so no. And when they send emails out and stuff, you can tell it's to a different a whole chain, but they can hide the recipients and stuff. My wife always laughs that they hide this information like it's Fort Knox and stuff. But anyway, you get contacted and they fly you to New York. And I remember on the first time just sitting waiting in a bus, kind of like a little mini bus, and Mary Kate came out, and I can't remember if anybody else came out, but then the producer came out. It was a different producer this time, but anyway, it was a producer came out. We all just went to this hotel, and there were 20 of us approximately, and we just kind of got to know each other a little bit around the bar, and then went to bed. And then the next day training started, and all these forms and blood work and just camera training and just everything. And then after that, they pick 10 people who they think are going to be the best. And it's not just the best at survival, it's the best at expressing your story, the best at camera work, the best at a lot of different. I mean, I don't know, they're the people that pick the people, but
you got to be the whole package for them. You can't
right,
just be
kind of
entertaining, know your stuff, know how to film.
And there might be like, if there's a better, like, quote unquote better survivalist out there, if they can't film it for shit, if they like fumble with the camera and they just completely can't grasp the concept of like setting up a shot and like making sure that they get all that in, they're not going to have that person on there because it'll ruin the show. Like if they don't have shots in there. There's a so season 5. This is all going to be laden with spoilers, so I mean, just go and watch the show. Like, turn it off, go watch the show, turn the podcast back on, and you'll want to hear the rest of this with Larry for sure. I mean, like, it's a phenomenal show. Like, I didn't know what to expect when Patrick told me about it because he set this all up. He's the reality TV show guy. He watches all the shows, and I don't watch shit like that. It's not my thing usually. I mean, I've watched TV, Survivor Man and stuff like that, and I just thought this was going to be like Larry said, like. Is it like a scripted thing or like I had no expectations. I had no idea what it was. It was just, hey, this guy wants to come on. I want to have him on. Pull this show up and watch it. And I fell in love with the show because it's like they just have him out there like Survivor Man style, like Les Stroud style, setting up the tripods and shit like that, and just like doing the shot out there and doing their own shit out there. It's super brutal. They're building all these crazy structures. Like if they eat, they eat. If they don't, I mean, it's on them. They've got a radio that they can call, and there's no like fakeness to it at all. Like they're having emotional breakdowns. There's a hunter guy in season 5 where he's hunting grouse, and because you can take 10 items with you from the real world and bring it into this, right? So whatever those 10 items are, his bow and arrow is part of his 10 items, right? So he's grouse hunting, and he's just talking like to the camera, like setting this thing up, like, man, I really just I want to get a deer kill. That way that I don't have to take as much life. Like it's starting to wear on me having to kill all these animals. He's like, I'm not hunting these animals because I love killing things. He's like, I have to eat. I got to eat. There's nothing else that I can do other than like you either eat or die. So he's hunting these grouse, and he kills a grouse, and he's getting like really upset because he didn't get a clean kill on his grouse. And he starts like, he's crying, and it's like, it's a grown man crying in the middle of the woods after 3 weeks alone. It's like, this isn't something that they scripted and told him to cry about. Like he's really getting fucking worked up about this thing. But the thing that I'm all building to, all this realness, there's a moment in, I think it's like the 5th or 6th episode where Larry has been eating dandelions the whole time to survive, right? So you're eating these dandelions because they're a way to sustain yourself or whatever, and it turns out they're also diuretic. So it makes you pee a lot, and you're thinking you're hydrated because you're peeing clear. So it appears to you that your body's full of water, but really it's just a diuretic effect. So you're getting these crazy head rushes, and then so you have a camera strapped to your head, and then there's another shot set up. And as you're walking, you're like, wow, these head rushes are really getting intense. Like you had just caught a fish, and you were like, you could tell that you're like starving, so you're like, fuck yeah. They have to bleep you out a bunch, but you're like, fuck yeah. Oh my God. And my girlfriend walks in like, why is he freaking out? And I was like, this man's in the wilderness starving to death by himself, and he's just caught food. He's got sustenance for the first time in God knows how fucking long, and he's surviving on dandelions. And then then you start talking about these head rushes, and then out of nowhere you pass out. And to me, it's fucking crazy because what would have happened if you had fell and hit a rock, cracked your melon open, and just fucking bled out? Like, that would have been so easy to happen. Is there any sense of them monitoring you throughout this whole thing? Or is that radio really your only way out?
Like, is there a chance of you dying out there legitimately? And like, hey, you have to prepare for that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but
Brutal.
really bent my wife out of shape. Yeah.
The contract has a big ass skull on it with a Grim Reaper. Like, do
Fuck,
not sign up for this. And you're like, I can do this. Like,
How scared were you after that? Like, I would have been terrified to just wake
Dude,
up.
I was in a no man. I was in a oh after the head rush.
Oh yeah, after you blacked out.
yeah.
hit
And then
your
we'll talk
head.
about what you were talking about.
As far as the contract goes and about whether you could die out there or not, I was in a place where I just wanted to go out and really prove myself, and I didn't really care what happened, to be honest with you. I told him, my wife still gives me crap about this. I was in a dark place, and I just said, hey man, maybe this is it. See you later. You know, and it was just, I just had this bad empty nest syndrome, whatever, midlife crisis, whatever. But it was also, it's so real when you're out there. It's so real. It strips everything away from you and just makes you, it's just, there's no, I mean, there's stress, but it's so basic. You've got like 3 problems in the world to work on. When was the last time you ever had 3 problems to work on? You know, as opposed to 4 million. But anyway, when I passed out, yeah, it scared me because when I hit the ground, I was really close. It wasn't a really big rock. It was only about 6 inches away. But I remember like falling backwards, and I grabbed the stick. So I had my camera set up on on the tripod, the big camera set up on a tripod, and I fell back. And I remember trying to grab the tripod just to try to stabilize myself.
Oh.
And I fell back, and I don't think I was out for more than about maybe only a couple of seconds. But I remember looking up at the sky, and the Mongolian sky is so beautiful. It is so blue and so amazing. And I looked up at it, and I was like, holy shit. This is the most amazing sky I've ever seen in my life. Where the fuck am I? And I wait a minute. I think I'm in Mongolia. Holy Christ. So I started looking around, and I put the camera together and, you know, talked about it and stuff. The part that bothers me, and I'll let you guys in on something, and the network may get mad at me about this, but I've said it before. The camera shot where they saw me laying over the log was, I had thrown out my back that they never aired. I threw out my back was screwed for at least a week, maybe 2 weeks, trying to set up a Paiute deadfall. Because you got to get, I mean, I'm old, you know,
Those things are heavy
I'm
as
hard,
fuck.
you know, whatever. My body's been rode hard and put away wet. So anyway, I threw my back out, but that birch log that was there, every morning I would go and stretch my back out, and I was filming. They told me to film everything. So I filmed it, and it kind of, I mean, even my daughter was looking at it, and she's like, Dad, that's not even the same area you were in or anything. You know, so I mean, I have to kind of explain that. So they took a little bit of creative editing in that, but the blackout and stuff was legit.
Well, I was kind of confused when I watched it. I didn't really understand what had happened because you kind of they cut the shot. They cut the shot. I had to go back twice and rewatch it because I was like, wait, what happened? Because he's on his ass, and it just shows like the camera go down, right?
And everything.
And I was like, what's happening? And then you're in a different place, and I was like, am I missing something? And then you talk about it, and I was like, okay, now I get it, but it was confusing as fuck at first. I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, it was confusing to me too. I had to rewind it myself when I watched it. I'm like, I was stretching my back in that scene. What the hell? You know, but they make, you know, they have you film everything and everything.
You gotta piece it all together.
Happened, but they just piece it all together, right?
Yeah. But you were talking about earlier the contract, and like you said about your wife. I don't know if I'm stumbling over something you already spoke about, but I'm curious, like, what was it like when you saw these contracts? Like, oh shit, and you had this discussion.
I said I was going, and she said okay, and I signed them all.
Oh, well, that was easy enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did read through them. And I was able to. I can speed read pretty good. I'm not a lawyer by any stretch, but I can speed read pretty good. And I had him change a couple of things regarding, because I didn't think my YouTube channel was going to take off, but I still didn't want them to have
any control. Yeah,
that's
Right.
yours.
Right.
That's completely
Just
yours.
like a couple little things, but mostly it was basically, if you want to do this, then do it, and if you don't, we'll find somebody else. And I wanted to be the person that did it, and most of the things that they required of us wasn't really out of the ordinary. I mean, you're going out, I mean, I'd sign a release saying that, I mean, they put so many safety precautions into the show, even though, yeah, legit, I could have died if I'd have hit my rock or hit my head on a rock, or if I'd have drowned, or any of these people, any of that stuff, we could have died, and they could have got our body within, I don't know, probably took them a couple hours to get to my site, at least in Mongolia. And
Yeah, I was always curious about that slow ass vehicle they always show. Is like, is it really moving that slow? What if there's an
Yeah.
emergency?
yeah, it's
I
really
guess that's all
moving
they can do.
slow. Yeah.
Larry, can you compare and contrast for us a couple of the differences between Vancouver Island and Mongolia for you as far as survival goes?
First of all, my attitude was more diehard and more, I'm going to do my absolute best and test myself to the absolute furthest I can go on Vancouver Island. Also, Vancouver Island was, in my opinion, a harsher environment than Mongolia.
Fuck yeah.
Seemed like it, yeah.
Because
Bears
Mongolia,
and cougars and shit.
Plus the mice
Uh,
living in his house. He had mice
The
in
mice.
there.
I wanted to get to the mice.
Yeah, that looked.
I had
Oh,
mice living in my house in Mongolia too. I
Yeah.
slept with house.
you were so
Great.
giddy to
It
kill
was
those little
awesome.
fuckers.
It was so funny. It was so funny. I couldn't wait to ask you about that. We got to get into the mice a little bit later.
Sure, but anyway, Mongolia is a lot like, or the area that we were in Mongolia. I should rephrase that because I actually took my wife back a year after the show aired and showed her my site and just took her back to Mongolia.
wow.
We did almost 3 weeks and did a indigenous culture type tour.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was from the folks that actually, so they're called fixers. They're called Panoramic Journeys, and it's a company that does tours, but then also can put together TV show or the logistics for a TV show. So like the camp, the bathrooms, the housing, stuff like that. So anyway, I contacted this lady, and she was super nice, and we ended up doing a return trip. But anyway, Mongolia is very similar to sections of like Idaho or maybe not Montana, but sections of Idaho and Nevada where there'll be
Mountainous.
rocky mountains, stuff like that. But then if you go to a little tiny bit higher elevation, which all of this was in my area, you would have pine trees, and you'd have, and in the lower down, you had birch trees, and you had grass, and you had, I mean, there were wild onions, there was plantain, there was the dandelions, there was all these different plants that I recognized, and that people far more knowledgeable than I did recognized even more. But
Oh yeah.
it was very similar to the United States. It was kind
That's
of odd.
interesting.
It was very odd to me because I thought it was going to be extremely different, but it wasn't. Mongolia, if I'd have done Mongolia first, I'd have lasted a lot longer. But the second time around, I had and actually a few of us I've talked to since then, but had, whatever, a PTSD about the first time.
Yeah.
And that's why I could only stay 40 days.
The
As soon as-
starving.
You say only
so-
40 days, dude. I would be out there 4 hours crying for my
Yeah.
mommy.
I'd be like that one guy
I'm
in
like-
like the first season who quit like within an hour of getting there because
Yeah.
he saw a
Yes.
family of bears. Be like, "Yeah, fuck this.
Yeah, no, bye. I'll see y'all. I'm sorry that you flew me all the way out here and you chose me as the guy, but I'm fucking gone, dude. Like,
I'm letting you down."
I know I'm a 26-year-old man with 2 children, but like, I'm gonna have to just disappoint them on national television right now. You were such a fucking man, dude. Like, you're like, I only made it 40 days. Like that's I don't know. That's impressive as fuck to me, dude.
I think
Big dick energy.
I would try it.
Yeah.
I would try it, but then I would be such a bitch the moment any other predator came into the
Yeah.
scene. Like
100%.
I'd be in there like day 2 by a river trying to like corner a fish, and then I'm out.
Larry,
Where's
you're
the
talking to
radio?
three-
Where's the radio? There's a gang of them right behind.
you're
it.
talking
Sure
with
I would
is.
sit on my couch watching, eating food, and I'm thinking I could do this. Just sitting on my fat ass on the couch, like, oh yeah, I should go out there.
You're
I could
talking
try
to
it.
3 very soft pussies from Cincinnati that pretend to be men. Like, this one has a beard, so like, yeah, he's the most manliest, but still, just 3 very vaginal men. Like, none of us could do what you did, and I would
seriously.
suspect that
And
most
you
people
were
in the
so-
modern world couldn't do it. Like,
But
you're
You know what
Yeah.
though?
fucking impressive, man.
I will say
Don't
this.
sell yourself short is all I'm saying.
I will say this though. I for sure, Larry, would outlast both of these guys. Like, without question, I would for sure outlast them. Let's
He'd
just
scrape
drop
his
us
elbow and
off.
start crying.
Let's just get the 3 of us in 3 different sections of Red River Gorge, and let's go a week.
Dude, I don't know. I'm scared of everything. I'm fucking scared of heights. Fucking scared of spiders. Fucking everything, dude. I wouldn't even been on the plane to like, what? I gotta fly to Mongolia? We can't just drive to Mongolia? Like, nah, I'm out, dude. I'll see you. For sure, Luke would definitely
the
beat
trip
me.
getting out there. The trip getting out there. So I flew to China, and so this is okay. I'll tell you about the trip when I took my wife out there.
Yeah.
Where the hell did we fly? I think we flew to someplace in Canada, maybe I don't even remember, some Edmonton or something, and chilled for like 6 hours. So we had like a 2 or 3 hour flight, chilled for 6 hours, flew to China, and had like probably a 20-hour layover. And then we were going to catch our flight to Mongolia. So we slept in the airport, and then we got to the Mongolian section to get ready to go into our Mongolian flight, and they were having severe weather. So then they delayed that one. So we slept in the airport for a little bit longer. I think it was like 2 days sleeping in the airport almost. And then to get to, so in Mongolia, there are only some paved roads. It's crazy. When you hire a guide or whatever, the locals, they can go out into this dirt plain area that doesn't have a stitch of growth on it, hardly.
No landmarks.
Dirt tracks that just go places. No signs, no nothing.
You just hire
And then
Sherpas?
they just stop. They know exactly where to go. And then the area to get to where we were at, as bad as Mongolian roads are, I think ours was like top 10 worst roads in Mongolia. Huge
shit.
potholes. But I mean, it was awesome for me. I was like, hell yeah, because they got these big snorkels on those like Subaru, whatever.
So they can go underwater,
whatever.
right? It pumps the water out of the top of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
those
went
are
through all
awesome.
And everything. Yeah, it was
That's
sweet.
cool.
Was your wife
Yeah.
freaking out, or is she totally into shit like that?
She's not. She was a brave person on this trip, man. Anytime she knew how much it meant to me, and she was actually pissed because the first time in Vancouver Island, I said if I won, I wanted my wife to come out and visit me. And in Mongolia, I looked at my wife and I'm like, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to crap or go to the bathroom. I mean, their outhouses, all it is just like a floor with a slot in the middle of it. There's no seat, no
God.
nothing, right? Which, whatever. But I mean, she does really good, but I'm like, you're just not going to enjoy yourself. Well, I didn't win, but I was able to treat her to this trip. And so she was just a great sport about it. But, she did have one time where we were staying in they call the yurts. They call them a ger, rather. And we were staying in these horse herders families' ger, and they hang the meat on the walls. That's just, they don't really have a refrigerator or anything like that. They just hang the meat on the wall. No, this is just raw. And then they just use it within, however many days, like 3 days or whatever. But
That's
it's not
crazy.
refrigerated. It's hot in there too. But anyway, she was laying down and sleeping, and a mouse ran across her, and
Oh,
that ain't
God.
nothing.
Shit.
That's nothing.
Oh man.
well, no, but I thought it was pretty good for her. I mean, she didn't freak out. She just told me about it later. She's like, Larry, this happened, and I'm like, oh, you did pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. When you told me that whole story, I was like, I sleep in the airport in 2 days. I would have bitched out on that part of the trip. I'd have been like, well, I guess we're going home.
Oh, it was a
48 more hours away from my bed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, is she into survival stuff as well? Like, does she do these classes, or like? I mean, I know you go camping a lot, but is she is she all about the same stuff that you are when it comes to survival techniques?
No, absolutely not.
No.
No, so we went camping, I think about 2 weeks ago. And when I go camping with my wife, now keep in mind, my wife did 12 years active duty Navy and was with the Marines for at least 8 of that. And
Oh, wow.
so
She's a badass too.
right. Back in the day, she was carrying 65-pound packs, 12 miles and stuff like this. But she tells me I've done that. I don't need to do that. So when we go camping, it's car camping. But yeah, a couple weeks ago, we had this air mattress because for car camping, that's what she likes. And it's a huge tent. You can stand up in it and stuff.
Sure.
Well, it deflated. Nope. We had to drive an hour to like the next city, and next thing, because she just went in with COVID and stuff. But then I went back to the campsite and we pumped it up. This thing's like 1.5 feet thick, dude. I mean, you could like float down a river on it,
Yeah.
queen size. But no, she's a good sport. She She's getting better with. It used to be we always had to have a shower in the campsite, but you know, none of my family's like I am. They all think I'm nuts, basically.
Now,
I can see that. I mean, you're doing the craziest shit ever. Like on that first season, when I saw this moment where you had like a breakdown on it, and I was curious like how you felt about that being aired. Like just seemed like such a raw and intense moment. It's like I don't know how anyone could ever do this. Like you were definitely the most real person on the show that I felt like I would be just as frustrated or something if I had those skills or whatever. Because you showed it, but it's just like the raw emotion in there. I just feel like I don't know how someone can mentally take these kind of things. It's crazy. Feels like a real suffering.
You know, to be honest with you, I've been waiting for this question for about 4 years.
Oh.
Nobody has ever.
hey,
sweet.
the Bastard Sermon got you.
Bastard Sermon got it.
I mean, nobody ever like really mentioned it. Everybody just kind of glosses over it, and I was scared. So I'm a construction worker, right? I work with a bunch of big burly dudes, and I'm like, I cried on national TV, man, multiple times.
Dude, it was like a full breakdown.
And I thought,
I was like, dang.
Right. Yeah. And I thought, how are people? I'm like, well, I am what I am. And nobody ever brought it up. And the only people that I have never met anybody in person that wasn't super supportive, and guys on the job or just, you know, if they know about it, I don't talk about it. If they happen to see the show or whatever, they're super supportive about it. But yeah, man, that was real. So when I cried over that bucket, so what happened was we get 10 items, right? And one of those items, two of them you're allowed to, but one of my items was emergency rations, right? So it was however many ounces or whatever of beef jerky. So up until about I think it was right up until for sure day 30, I only had like just a nibble on my emergency rations. But then after that, day 55 hit, and I was so fucking hungry. And I had a bad night to where so leading up to this, I was having dreams about food and reuniting with my friends and whatever. But anyway, I'd wake up in the morning and I would have this drool, or, you know, sometimes I'd have to just force myself out of a dream because the drool and every dream I had was about food. Every single waking moment and also every sleeping moment was about food. Day 55, I hit my breaking point. I went to bed and I had nightmare after nightmare after nightmare about food. And then the surf was, I do like the ocean, but the surf was just pounding. My head was pounding, right? I don't know if you've ever had a fever that was like, so when I was a kid, and it just was like boom, boom, thump. When I was a kid, I had a bad fever, and that's the only thing I can relate it to. It was like 104 fever or something. But my head was thumping, and the surf was thumping, and I literally had to unzip myself out of the sleeping bag and almost slap myself in the face and say, dude, you're going insane. You need to I thought I was going insane, so I had to try to talk myself down. Luckily, I was able the rain started up, and it's a beautiful sound for me, a rain hitting a tarp or a steel roof or something. So I was able to concentrate on that sound. And that day, it would happen to be a battery check or whatever, for some reason production came out. They had to come out every once in a while to take your media cards, replenish your batteries. They'd ask you if you're okay, stuff like that. And I hated it when they came out because I just wanted to be alone. I didn't want them to show up. I don't know, for some reason they made me emotional, but that compounded with this horrible freaking night I had. I bawled the entire time they were there. I'm like, just take the batteries, you know, do whatever you got to do. And I was just snot everywhere. I mean, it was horrible.
Oh my God.
And then after that, I knew that my time was limited. I knew that what I needed to do was eat maybe some of my emergency rations. And when I say I ate my emergency rations leading up to this point, I would take the smallest little handful of jerky, and I had a 2-quart pot, and I would fill it with water and add that little tiny bit of jerky in there And if I didn't catch anything, or, you know, I mean, seaweed gets old after a while. There were times where I almost thought I was going to puke after eating some, you know, seaweed. So anyway, I'd put that little tiny bit of jerky into a 2-quart pot, and then I would drink about half to 3/4 of the broth, and that would be my only meal for the whole day. And then the next day, I would fill it back up, then I would fill it back up with water, and then I would store it because it was cool out. And then I would eat that watered down broth and then that little bit of jerky. And
Wow.
well, I mean, that's what I was. And then
Suffering.
so leading up to that, I was gathering, harvesting, potentially fishing, trying to find something. I apologize for my dog.
It's
You're
all right.
fine.
Hey, you're outside.
It's
It's
cool.
fine. This is part of
Yeah.
the show. It's fine.
So the third day is when I figured I would probably harvest enough to make another meal. So, you know, and if I didn't have a meal, then I called that my starving day. So I wouldn't go into my emergency rations or anything. I just would starve that day. Because in Vancouver Island, there were no dandelions. There was nothing.
Just
man.
seaweed and
It was
limpets,
seaweed.
right? Or was it red tide? Did they have red tide this
So
season?
we did have limpets and those periwinkles, but I had eaten. So I had I had this horseshoe shaped cove. I ate every single shellfish on that entire thing.
God.
And I was like crawling over hardcore
Yeah.
stuff to get to another spot. And towards the end, it was like I either eat it or I fish with it. And by then, the fishing had kind of turned off, and a lot of stuff was just getting lost. And it was like, well, you know, not even maybe 5% of the bait that I put out produced. So I just had to make a rationalization, and I'm like, okay, I just had this mental breakdown. I've got hardly any emergency rations. I'm going to just concentrate on these shellfish because the fishing turned off. If you talk to basically most people, the fishing turns off at a certain point in the season.
Once it gets cold enough, like they're gone.
Right.
They're completely gone.
Right. So they were gone, and then I just knew my days were limited, and I just figured,
It's just like a starving game at that point, right? Like who can
Right.
starve the longest without losing their mind or getting pulled.
What was it about the
Right.
bucket that you were mentioning, though?
I'll tell you about that. Also, I don't think, not to be, I don't know this. This is just my personal opinion, but I don't think they realized people would get as skinny as they did until they ran into me. But that's just
Yeah.
my personal opinion. I probably weighed $165 and I lost 35 pounds.
How
That's
big are you?
wild.
How tall are you? What is your frame
There
normally?
was no, huh?
What is your
How tall are
frame
you?
normally? Just to put this in perspective for listeners' heads, how tall are you? What is your normal, like, walking around healthy frame? What weight and height
I'm
wise?
5'9". I used to weigh 165. I'm 5'9" and weigh 155 now.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, what was it?
I don't know. I lost 35 pounds. I weighed like a buck
120.
30. Yeah,
130,
buck
yeah.
20, something like that.
You
Yeah.
wasted to nothing.
Yeah. But anyway, as far as the bucket goes, it was just, there was something that just happened, and it was just later on that day, and I just, I'm pretty anal about not getting myself wet.
Yeah.
So all these survival skills, you know what I mean? I mean, even no matter what, man, you don't get yourself wet. You're in Vancouver Island.
Hypothermia.
Don't get yourself wet. So I had a bucket. It was better than throwing down on the ground, you know, but that was just part of day 55. So, I mean, I kind of explained what led up to that, and it was just raw emotion.
Sure.
It sucked.
Don't
I
mean to-
just at that point, as like a watcher
God
of
damn.
seeing that, I was like, this dude, like how is he doing this? Like, why is he doing this to himself at this point? I'm sure like the amount of struggle that you were going in your mind as you have the option to go home, but you're suffering, you're starving, like legitimately, not like, oh, I haven't had anything to eat for a couple days. Like, fuck, you're starving. Like, there's no fat in your diet and all this other stuff. You're just straight up suffering. It's like, is this even worth it? Is it worth it for you? But like, you just kept pressing on, man. Like every day I was just like so much more impressed. Like, how the fuck is he doing this? He should win. This
So-
guy should fucking win.
You're the coolest guy on Alone as far as all the people. Not just because you said
You're the
yes
guy
to
with the biggest dick on Alone. Like,
No, seriously. Not just because you said yes to doing the show. Like out of all the contestants that I saw in the 2
Yeah,
seasons
best
that I
one.
watched, you're the coolest one. Like I
Yeah.
just legitimately
thank
think
you.
that.
most relatable, I felt like.
That's- yeah, exactly.
Raw, like your frustrations, like everyone else, like they had their frustrations, but it's like they were being reserved about it for some, oh, I'm on television, I better be whatever. But you were like, I'm just telling it how it is, man. Like
Yeah.
you would
Well,
always
part
like
of it-
sit down and discuss and negotiate with the camera, like, yeah, this is just it, man. This is how it is.
Part of it's me being naive too, because when I did YouTube, believe me, I had some freakouts, and I, didn't break down because I was just doing YouTube or whatever as far as crying and stuff. But the first time I saw myself freak out, I was like, oh, I would have thought they would have edited that out. That's part of my naivety or whatever.
That's what I would think too. It was like, oh God, they showed that. Oh.
But the reason that I kept going was, so I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I'm a pretty stubborn guy. And I mean, a lot of people wanted to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not going to give it your all and your hardest effort, what are you there for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of like what I said in season 2. Like I said, I was going through a little bit of a deal. I mean, my family, like I said, man, I didn't have a real good growing up, but the core family that my wife and I made are tight. And my son was super into sports, and there's obviously better kids and worse kids and whatever, but I told him, no matter what, man, so long as you leave it out all on the field, no matter how you do,
Yeah.
I don't care. Just give it your all. And I'm sitting there and I'm almost going insane. And I thought, well, there's a little bit left in the gas tank. Because if I go home and I didn't give it all, that's just not who I am, I guess.
You'd have
You know
to
what I'm
live
saying?
with it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to break it down to my son or my family or anybody. And then I had a lot of people that were really counting on me, and I put a lot more pressure on myself than I should have. I mean, every time my wife sees the scene where I break down and I say my wife's going to be so disappointed, we only watched it a couple times, but she punched me both times in the arm.
Punched you.
She's like, you dumbass. What the hell? She's like, I'd never be disappointed. So it was more pressure I put on myself than other people put on me.
Yeah.
Well, you go out there and you're trying to really change your whole family's life. $500,000 for people like us, that's a game changer. There's so much you can do. Pay off your house. You could go and invest in all this other stuff. But then you like, I got to do this. And then I also have to set a good example for my kids and things like that. And of course, just yourself, your own self, the way you think about it, ego, I guess, you just don't want to let yourself down. There's a lot riding on you when you commit to those things.
Well, yeah, and I didn't want to. I mean, yeah, and I didn't go. Only one person went out for the money on our season, and it was Dave.
Yeah.
The rest of kind of just had their own personal reasons, but for me, I just wanted to test myself and see if I could really do this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wanted to win, and especially as time went on, because we knew how long the first season lasted. Although I knew this cast or these participants were crazy. No disrespect to the first season, but these people were really skilled. I mean, you look at Nicole, you look at Jose, you look at Dave, look at Justin, a sniper in the. I mean, for me, an electrician being a part-time, I guess you could call it survivalist, whatever. I'm just a learner of different primitive skills or whatever. To be in the same arena as these folks, that alone was, after I got over being second, that alone to me is just really humbling.
Yeah, you blew a lot of those people out of the water. Like, it really shows a lot about, I feel like, character. Like, you see all these bad motherfuckers that go out there. Everyone's a bad motherfucker that goes out there. I'm just gonna say it. Everyone is. but they go out there like, oh, I'm a military veteran and stuff. They don't last more than like 3 days or whatever. And then like
The one guy that was a military veteran, he ate fucking wood until he got constipated, and he was like, I don't know, I haven't pooped in 2 weeks. I don't understand why I'm constipated. It's like, you've been eating fucking pine for the last 2 weeks straight. No shit. You have wood in your stomach. Your body's not digesting the cellulose. He's like, oh, yeah, look. He had to call out after 23 days. I think it was episode 4 of Mongolia or whatever it was. And he was just like, me, big bad Green Berets, got to get taken out by, he can't poop. And it's like, well, yeah, but like you exclusively ate pine bark, or not pine bark. It's the innards of the pine tree or whatever that he's eating.
Inner bark, the cambium, yep.
And it's like, you can survive off that if you need to. I'm sure it's not something you're supposed to be loading your stomach down with until that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Pat, but when you said that military veteran thing, I thought that it was interesting
it's true.
that him as an electrician can last for as long as he has, but then you have somebody with the actual training that does something dumb like that gets them kicked out.
I don't know. I think that makes him just as dangerous, Larry. I think that makes you just as dangerous because it's I mean, it says something like you're saying an electrician going up against these guys, and this is something that you always had a passion for, but you got in too late. Like, imagine the damage you could have done if you had this further experience from when you first got into it. You know what I mean?
You'd be like fucking Chris Kyle.
Exactly.
They'd be
You would be like
movies
out
about
there
this.
like, oh, I'm gonna make a T-shirt out of this tree now, gang, and then like like they're gonna be trying to haul you out. You're not calling it quits.
Yeah.
Like, everybody gave up ages ago, Larry. We need to get back home.
Clint Eastwood would be directing movies about him right now if he went to the fucking army.
that's what I'm
Who
saying.
fucking knows what he would have done? I don't
So,
wanna-
the untold story of Larry Roberts.
Yeah, it would have been some
Starring
weird history
Bruce
thing
Willis.
on YouTube.
But I mean, let's real quick look, because I mean, you went through all that suffering, all that raw emotion, all that pain. Like, it was suffering,
Psychological
from what I saw.
torture, it seems like.
And you come back for redemption. Like, did they approach you, or did you were like, you know what, I think I can do this again? You know what I mean?
It wasn't very long after I left Vancouver Island that, well, I shouldn't say that very long. It was, so they did season, I guess it wasn't, yeah, they did season 3, then they did season 4, but so basically a year passed, and my son, so I was pretty tore up about the fact that I didn't win, right?
Dude, you made it so far. I don't blame you, man.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just, I've got issues. So anyway, I was just really hard on myself, right?
Yeah. I hear
So
you.
anyway, my son and a couple other people said, it's only a little bit till they probably make a redemption season. And I'm like, oh no, they'll never invite me. Oh no, never. And then I met one of the casting agents there's it's called Blade in Atlanta, Georgia. It's a big knife show, and a lot of people get together there. Anyway, I met a casting agent there, and I told her, I said, you know what? I said, a lot of people have been telling me that, a redemption or a bring people back season might happen. I'll go in a heartbeat. I'll go right now. You don't have to bring me anything. Nothing. I'll go right now.
I'll leave right now.
I won't even tell
I
my
was going
wife.
home,
I'm
I'm
getting
like,
on a bus to the airport right now.
Yeah. So, and I felt great and everything, but then a little, obviously that's ego, like you guys were saying. And then you step back when you finally get there. The network actually, I guess, wanted me back, and everybody wanted me back, which was awesome. I think that I do hear that a lot, which I really very much appreciate. That a lot of people see that I was very transparent,
Genuine.
Yeah,
and stuff.
genuine is the best way of putting it. You would just
you're
you let
very
it out
genuine.
real the whole time. Like, I felt like I
Perfect.
wasn't getting like the real 411 on how bad this was, how the suffering was until Larry came on, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, dude. You really bring that show down to earth. It's fucking fantastic. Like, I think they should
Especially
bring you
with the
back again.
mice. The
I hope-
mice too.
I was gonna ask you, dude. This might be an inappropriate question to ask, but fuck it. I don't know. I've had several drinks. Whatever. You should get some money for this. Like, do they pay you on any level for like your work on that show? Like, you taking
You're
like
gone for
months off
64 days
You've-
or whatever?
out of your whole life. You've spent 100 and what is it? You said 40 days plus 60, so 104 days of your life you've taken off of work to try to compete for this money, and then like gone through these crazy like moments that have made their show a crazy amount of ratings. Like, I'm sure beloved by that Alone fan base. You're beloved by us. I mean, we fucking, as soon as Pat showed me that thing, I was like, I wonder if he's the coolest one or the only one the Bastard Sermon could get. And it's like, no, he is the coolest fucking one on here. I'm like, you deserve money for this. Like, your time in this place. Like, I know that you signed up for it willingly. I'm sure that you signed some contract that said anything, but I hope that you've been compensated in some way for this because you really deserve it. It's really cool. The content that you've given to the History Channel. They've made some money off of you. I hope that you've made some money off them. You don't have to say anything about it, but that's just my opinion on it.
I will say that. So no, I just want to say this right. There's the production company. I didn't realize this, but what happens is a TV show gets made and then sold to a network. So the network is the History Channel is different, but the people that put on the show were extremely good to me, and we all get paid a weekly stipend. Otherwise. So
Like
some of these
cover for bills and stuff.
Yeah, some of the. Oh yeah, no, it was fine. It was about what. So I'm an electrician. I'm an electrician, and they paid me about my wage.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So it's like you didn't
There's
even
no
lose work.
You can take that time off.
Is your employer understanding about that? Like when you go to take work off for this sort of shit? Like, do you have to? How does that?
Hey,
work?
boss, I got to go
Yeah.
live out in Mongolia for a few
I'm
weeks.
taking a leave of absence.
I'll
so
be
that's
back
fine.
when I starve to death, or I'll be back when I win. Who knows?
I might be a different person next time you see me.
Yeah, exactly. Might have a 95-inch beard.
Well, it was kind of an interesting conversation that I had with my boss. Yeah, I had to. So the network or the production people called me and said, "Hey, you need to come to Vancouver Island or whatever," and you got accepted. And so I had a private meeting with my boss, the owner of the company, and he had seen the show, I think, and he's a pretty understanding guy. He's a pretty understanding guy, and he said, and maybe. Seems how he's seen the first show. Maybe he thought I'd be back in a couple of weeks or something. I don't know.
He won't last that long.
He said the longest guy there was like 50-something days, so you'll probably be gone a month. So yeah, sure, no problem, Larry.
Oh, so you had your bosses? Did you have that chirping in your head the whole time? Like, I'm gonna show this dick. Otherwise, no, I'm gonna be here for at least twice what he said.
There were some thoughts going through my mind, just like, let me just tell you the basic that you need to know and let me get the hell out of here and go to Canada.
Yeah.
But you realize that, so it's not only the 64 days, it's like the week to 2 weeks of orientation camp, plus after you tap out or win or whatever, maybe 2 weeks on the downside of that too. Yeah. So you're gone for, depending, on the season, as much as a month or 3 weeks over what you
in between the showing.
Last, right.
I gotta piss. I'll be back.
And I've been actually curious too. I was reading up the first guy that won Alone. We were reading his like interviews and stuff. Me and my fiance, because we really like investing like into the shows we watch. And we were reading up, and they were talking about how difficult it was to go back to normal life, and that people can get like if they overeat after starving for so long, like you can't just let someone eat as much as they want. They're gonna die. Like it's like worse than like alcohol poisoning kind of shit or whatever that is, or alcohol withdrawal. That's what I mean. Like it's just a food withdrawal or something. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head. Did you have to go to like the doctors all the time when you got back?
So on
you know what I'm
season
talking about?
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking.
Okay.
So what happened, I don't exactly know the terminology for it, but what happened was, back in World War II, when sometimes the Americans would liberate the concentration camps, they would see all these starved prisoners and they would give them chocolate and they would give them bad food and too much food, and it actually ended up killing them.
I read that about this.
Right.
Yeah.
So on Vancouver Island, they sent us to a doctor, and a doctor gave us a couple of pages worth of information describing this refeeding syndrome or whatever it's called, and that you should eat only, certain things. And we have certain consultants on the show and a chaperone. For me, I had a chaperone both times I tapped. I had a person basically dedicated to me that watched out for my welfare.
A doctor?
No, just a person.
Oh, okay.
But then this person took me to the doctors, but this person could get me any food I wanted. Okay, that's where I was going with that.
Okay.
So the doctor told me what foods I should have, and the survival consultants told me what foods I should have. but I told the chaperone, sure, I'll have some yogurt and I'll have some of this stuff, but I want a 6-pack of beer and I want like a big bag of M&Ms and I want this and I want that. I want, the first thing I had when I came back was like a bacon, an A&W. It was like a bacon double cheeseburger with the root beer float and onion rings.
Oh, fuck
I can't
yeah, dude.
even imagine a better coming home
And I was
meal.
so full. I did. And one of the survival guys said, hey, you should only eat good stuff. And the other guy said, figure it out. See what your gut says.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Oh.
Don't have diarrhea.
Oh, and I was fine. But then I started really eating a lot. So I had to set like a timer on my watch to make sure that I only ate every 2 hours. But I'd wake up in the middle of the night and just pound them peanut M&Ms. Just, I ate some good stuff.
Pound them.
cookies and milk, everything.
Like a wild animal. Just
Oh, yeah.
I was out taking a piss, but you're talking about after you were done with the show
yeah,
or whatever.
like apparently,
The
like
bounce
because
back.
if like he was saying like concentration camps, like when
I was
they
gonna
were-
bring that up actually. Your stomach
Yeah.
shrinks and your stomach can burst if you overeat because it'll.
So
Yeah.
what I was, to continue on with that story, that didn't affect me. But some of the people Patagonia, remember, I don't know if you saw season 3.
I
Those
saw it.
people-
I did not.
Those people went forever.
Like
I mean,
90
they went,
days, right?
like another 20, 30 days past what I did, right? And I was feeling, the effects of it. So these people, I've talked to several of the people from that season that have had had semi-serious refeeding issues, stomach upsets, bad blood work, things like that. And also for some of these seasons that aren't on the coast. So for me, I knew that salt water was good for it, right? In small little doses. It's got a lot of minerals. It's got a lot of salt in it. Your body needs salt.
Like sip
So
on it.
Yeah.
So you don't get
So in my
dehydrated, right?
Yeah.
Right, but in my stews, so you're talking a 2-quart pot this big, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would put like maybe this much salt water in it. Every
An
once in a
inch.
great while, maybe every week or 2 weeks or something. And that has a lot of nutrients in it, and it's got sodium. Your body is made up of sodium. It's really hard to get fat and salt out in the woods. So some of these folks in Patagonia didn't have the salt, and they had problems. I know Carly had some problems after she tapped. That's why she was in the hospital. Part of it, they
Oh,
get
man.
this. I'm terrible with terminology, but I think it's called. It's not.
It's something with an E. I cannot
Edema?
remember what the fuck. Anemia, right?
No, anemia
Edema.
is like a deficiency. It's like edema. It's like a swelling of or something. Anyway, some people had some bad things, and in season 5, these people are learning with us. This network is learning with us. Nobody has done this before. So this refeeding program in season 5 was way better. They had, they always tried to take care of us, but they didn't leave us alone as much as they did in season 2.
Yeah.
Season 5, it was a very controlled, you couldn't go anywhere. There was no town. I mean, in Vancouver Island, when I got back, I could have snuck to town if I wanted to, but I didn't want to. You know what I mean? But in
I didn't know
Mongolia,
that.
for
That's
3
interesting.
hours after tap camp is what I meant.
Yeah.
In tap camp.
Okay.
After they kept us there. No, out when we were out in the hills, there's no way you could get out of there. But when we were in tap camp, they kept us isolated. In Vancouver Island, they kept me in a single room cabin by myself, alone with a chaperone, and if I wanted her there or whatever, but she could go get me food. Mongolia, it was like it was out in the middle of nowhere. There was nowhere you could go.
How scary were those animals at night? Like, I mean, have you gone camping around like bears and wolves and shit before all this stuff happened? Or like you're fucking out there, you hear these moose screeching in the night and stuff and all kinds of stuff. Like, what's going through your head?
Moose
You
mating
terrified?
calls are fucking terrifying. Like the elks
Yeah,
and
what-
the moose, like they're whenever they do those mating calls, they're fucking insane. They sound like, if you've never heard them before, it sounds like
Google them.
Like sex lunatics.
Go ahead and Google them if you haven't heard an elk.
it's
or
a noise that you would
buffalo.
never expect to hear from an
It's
elk. Like when you envision an elk in your head, like the thing with the horn.
Yeah, it's
like,
unearthly.
No, it sounds like a goddamn demon. Is like a portal to hell has opened up, and a demon just came out that's about to
A
vanquish.
portal to
pigs-
hell within the stomach of another demon.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah.
it's fucking. It's intense shit. And then your camp, like you can hear it on YouTube and be Like,
you guys got a
I'm not-
fabric.
I'm not
There's
afraid
just
of that.
fabric between you and these animals.
Exactly. Yeah, you're just sitting
How do
there.
you do it?
It's fucking intense.
How do you sleep at night?
Where do you live? I'm sorry. Where do you live? Cincinnati, right?
Yeah,
I live in Cincinnati. Yeah.
it's all
How
of
do you
us.
go down the street at night, man? It's a different. That cities scare the crap out of me, man.
Yeah.
But
No fucking joke there.
We're in the suburbs. It's not. It's. I don't know. You've been in the suburbs, right? It's not that intense.
Yeah.
I
But
live with.
still,
There's a bunch of old people that live on my street. I'm the only young guy in the whole neighborhood.
but everybody's
Pretty safe.
afraid. Everybody's afraid of something, right? Like,
Yeah.
so my family loves to tease me. I'm afraid of bees. I hate bees.
Fuck
Wasps,
bees.
bees.
I'm with
Dude.
you, Larry.
I'll run around like a little girl. My wife is like, just had to stop everything in the middle of everything and pat me down and say, "There's no bees on you." Like I was like the whatever Talladega Nights or whatever.
You're not on fire, Ricky Bobby.
I'm on fire. So, but wolves and bears to me, well, first of all, bears for the most part are bullies. They're the bullies of the woods.
Yeah.
Depend. I mean, every wild
Scared the
animal.
shit out of me.
But for me, the mountain lions in Vancouver Island is what I really watched out for. And then in Mongolia, I was hoping to spook a wolf pack off of a kill. So that's why I went out at night.
Oh yeah. You
Tried
chased after
to-
him. You're a
Right,
fucking
chase-
madman.
That is
Alright.
fucking so. That's the manliest shit I've ever heard. What do you mean? You're gonna chase a pack of wolves from their kill? That is badass.
But everybody's afraid of something. You know what I mean? I probably wouldn't have attacked a bee's nest or something.
Yeah,
I've,
you go for the wolves. You kill them all. You know,
I think
get
I've
them
got
off
a.
that shit.
I think I've got a camping story that might freak out Larry. But here's one for you. So there's an area in Ohio called Brown County. It's not super close to here, but it's but a lot of unincorporated area. There are lots of big like farms and stuff like that. My dad, when I was a kid, machinist, knew a lot of other machinists. Machinists tend to buy in Ohio these big areas of property because they make a shitload of money. So they'll buy a lot of property that a lot of people don't want and have farms on it and stuff like that. So my dad's friend Eric had this big giant plot of land out in Brown County. He's got cows on there. I mean, he's got livestock. I mean, there's lays in the basement. He's got like 4 different fucking barns. It's an enormous stretch of property. And we trekked out into the woods to go camping because my dad would always take me camping. I grew up shooting guns, shooting bow and arrows, fucking camping. Like none of it stuck, right? Like I don't do any of that shit. I'm pretty much just stay inside of my house, play video games and shit like that. But growing up, I did a lot of this living out. We'd stay out for 3-4 days or whatever. Nothing super intense, but just out in a tent for a weekend or more than a weekend or whatever if you could take vacation time off work. So one of the times we're out on Eric's property, and we didn't anticipate it was going to rain the whole time. And this is going to sound so pussy to you after living in fucking Vancouver Island for what it was 65 days. But I mean, after 2 straight days of us out camping, like in the fucking tent, like we plan on like, we're going to go like shoot stuff. Eric says any deer out there, we're free to kill. It's his property. He doesn't care. We can hunt them. We've got my 22. He's got his 22. He's got his 308. I mean, we're out there, we're shooting targets, and then we see rain clouds, and the rain didn't stop for 2 fucking days. And for us, 2 days is 65 days apparently. We're falling apart inside the tent. There's mosquitoes everywhere. I mean, we had a portable DVD player. Sorry, we didn't bring it because we were like, we're gonna do this the whole time we're camping or whatever in the middle of the woods. It's like as a backup plan in case something like this happened. And the second we turn it on, it kind of froze and then it broke. So that's fucked. Like everything's just going poorly. Can't get a fire lit. All of our food we can't heat up because everything's canned. We anticipated being able to go game hunting for like some of our food. We thought we'd be able to go fishing, but the mud is starting to stream into the pond, so there's no fish there. And it's like this for 2 straight fucking days. We wake up the second on the 3rd day or whatever, and my dad's fucking. He's losing his marbles at this point, and just like it hasn't rained, but like the zipper in the tent got fucked up, so it didn't. Like he couldn't get it open. He was like motherfucker. You know, I didn't see my dad get angry a lot when he was around or whatever, but this was one of the times when he lost his marbles, ripped his tent in half when I was still inside of it, picked up everything except for all the sleeping bags and all the food and stuff, and threw it into the fire. Whole tent melted. And he's just like steaming mad. And then he looked at me and he was like, Cody, I'm so sorry I did that in front of you. That wasn't right. I really apologize. I acted like a fucking psychopath. And I'm like, it's whatever. Let's just pack the stuff up and get the fuck. I'm all of 11 years old, like telling my dad, like, nah, Dad, it's fine. Like, it's all good, Dad. Like, let's go home. And he's like, okay. Like, with his, like, it should have been the roles reversed. So we start trekking back and we get lost because it's been raining for fucking 3 days straight at this point. And we're like, where's all the trails back? Like, there's leaves and trees that fell over. And it was some pretty intense rain. Like, luckily there wasn't any fucking trees that came down, but we heard like trees coming down and shit like that around us. And we didn't know where the fuck we were going. So we start walking through and the brush starts getting pretty heavy. There's obviously not a trail. And then up ahead, we can see where there's a big clearing. And it was like, cool, let's just make it through this fucking heavy brush. And I've got like 2 bags and a sleeping bag. He's got 2 bags and a sleeping bag and fucking a bag full of other shit. We get through this brush. And then as soon as we open up the last bit of thick brush, we just hear this intense buzzing everywhere. And we realized that we've walked onto Eric's bee farm where he's got bee boxes. He's got 4 bee boxes on the left side and 4 like big bee houses on the right side, just beehives. And my dad, intensely allergic to bees to the point where if he got stung by 1 bee, he would die of anaphylactic shock in like 2 minutes. Like if he didn't have an EpiPen, there was nothing. And I'd never been stung, didn't know if I was allergic at this point. But I'm the son of a man that's deathly allergic. So I'm just thinking, we're going to die. And I was like, we have to turn around. And my dad was like, nope, we have to very calmly walk through here because I can see Eric's house. And I didn't see any other paths. Did you? I was like, no. So we had to very calmly, very slowly walk through all this. And these bees are moving back and forth around us the whole time. We're walking in between these bees the entire time. The whole time I'm thinking, like, my dad's going to get stung. He's going to die. I'm going to get stung, find out that I'm allergic and die. And nobody's going to find us. I mean, we didn't have fucking cell phones. I mean, my dad might have, but after 3 days, it's not charged, you know? So, and it's one of those fucking old Nokia ones. It's dead. It's done. So we made it out, and everything ended up being fine. But I remember it being fucking, like, intensely, horrifyingly scary, just thinking, like, if one of these bees stings us, we're fucked. Like, who knows when Eric will be down here to check on us? Who knows when he'll be back here to make sure everything's good?
Larry probably says, you're a bitch.
Well, he's scared of bees. I only bring it up because he's scared of bees. That's it.
God damn.
Fuck, man.
It's like I fucking walked up on a wolf's den. You think like...
Yeah, yeah. No, he just said that he would scream like a little girl if he was around a little
Oh,
beehive.
yeah, dude, that's horrible.
Yeah, it was.
That would take so much for me, internal fortitude to walk through those and just be... Because I'm not super allergic to them, but I do swell up like a son of a gun.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, your dad being just deathly allergic to them. Yeah, that would suck. I mean, yeah. Just like I said, everybody's afraid of something. I mean, maybe your dad was afraid of spiders or something like that, you know? But
Cody's very afraid of spiders.
Oh, I'm terrified of spiders. We had a arachnid enthusiast come on and show us. Can't even look at pictures of them. But I'm a puss. Yeah. I'm scared of everything. I don't know. It's so crazy to me that you can sleep in the tent with bears and wolves howling and stuff like that, but the bees will get you. Like it's interesting how everybody has that little thing that'll.
Yep, exactly. And for me, it was just. For me, I got some of the best sleep I've ever had out there. I mean, both times. It was just the best, most uninterrupted sleep. The beds were so comfortable. And for me to be able to hear that wildlife, I mean, like you were saying, the elk, it's such a crazy scream that they do. The wolves, because very rarely have I heard wolves yell. We do have wolves around here, but not a ton. And then the black bears you usually don't hear, but you can maybe hear them plodding through the brush or whatever. But just to hear the different sounds of just this absolute primitive wilderness was just crazy. And for me, it was just like a lullaby. And as far as the wolves and stuff, I figured, there's very rarely is there an animal attack or anything on anybody. And I just figured, what the hell, you know, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't really scare me. It was like, it pumped me up. Don't get me wrong. I mean, when I say it didn't scare me, sure, it scared me a little bit. It pumped me up. I was adrenaline pumped, you know, and I'm like, you know, not to be arrogant or whatever, but I was like, fuck you, man. I'll take your shit.
Right.
Yeah, I'll fucking bear spray you.
Well, I didn't take the bear spray, but I figured I'd stab with my knife. I didn't care. Like I said, I was going through kind of a bad time in my life, and I didn't really care if I fought. Whatever. I'm gonna have to go pretty soon.
That's
Okay.
cool.
Oh, that's fine.
Do you guys have any final questions for him? I was going to ask him questions about his tattoos because they look like
Yeah, I
Nordic
was actually
runes.
about to get onto your tattoo. You have a massive back piece. That's really cool.
Yep.
What is that?
The first part is so I'll show you here in a second, but the first part, upper back, you have a lot of time to sit and think in your shelter. And I've had a few tattoos, and I always wanted another one, but I never really had a deep meaning for one, and I wanted to wait for that. So in Vancouver Island, I was sitting in my shelter, and I just designed a tattoo in my mind. I just thought, well, I'll put the island, and then I'll put the different things around the island that meant a lot to me, like the chanterelle mushrooms, the periwinkles, the limpets, the fish that I caught, my spear I made, the ferro rod, the fire starting device that basically my 10 items, except for maybe my sleeping bag and a couple other things. And then the boat was there too, because the boat captain, so he was the guy that ferried production back and forth, launched us sometimes, or took us out when we tapped, depending on what they were using, whether a helicopter or whatever. But the boat captain was, he was like logistics, and he was a super nice guy, and I'm still friends with him to this day. But so his boat with the wicked salmon, it's written on there. And then lower than that is Mongolia and everything. So Vancouver Island was a test. It was a hardcore deal. It kind of broke me down, it broke me down really bad. And then I built myself up. And then Mongolia for me was a healing experience. It let me know that I could still go out there, still have a fun time. 41 days. That's not too shabby. I survived off the land for that. And I still pushed myself as hard as I wanted to without going into that deep, dark place that I went into Vancouver Island. And so that's what Mongolia represents. You want me to show it to you?
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely,
that'd be awesome.
please.
That'd be awesome.
We're big
Hey,
tattoo guys
Get
here.
a pic of this. Pat.
Anybody that's just listening to this on YouTube or just listening to this through Spotify or whatever, go and check out the YouTube video. And
Oh,
zoom
that
to this
is
point.
crazy!
it's-
Awesome.
Yeah, this
Wow.
is amazing.
Jesus,
That's intense,
Christ.
man.
It's a lot of time on his bag.
How long in the chair were you for that one?
God.
Probably so 9, I don't know, 20 hours maybe.
Fuck.
Fuck.
Something like
That's in
Sounds
That's
painful,
intense.
man.
the
Damn.
ones.
You're a man.
The ones on
I've
your
got-
arms, though, it looks like Nordic
That's-
runes.
But that
Yeah.
one on my back next to my spine and my ribs,
Oof.
oh my God, that hurts so
I
bad.
Yeah, I
bet.
I was-
bet.
My guy, I'm like, I'm sorry. Well, I didn't move, but I'm like, I'm such a pussy because you can't breathe,
Yeah.
and then start getting chills and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have tattoo artists on the show. Like, a lot of them are friends with the show or whatever. And even they talk about, like, nah, dude, like, everybody talks about that doesn't have tattoos. Like, they have one Dreamcatcher tattoo out of college, and they're like, tattoos don't even hurt. It's therapy. And we have, like, legitimate tattoo artists come on the show all the time that are like, they fucking hurt. They suck.
Fuck,
like,
yeah.
and the older that you get, the harder that they are to sit through. Like, our buddy Nick Lavin was talking about it outside. He's like, I'm not even that old yet. I'm just coming up on 30. And it's like, fuck, dude, I can't even sit for more than 2.5 hours. Like, that's my breaking point. Like, it's an intense thing.
Yeah, I've heard that. The older you get, it's
Yeah.
it's. My
Depends.
daughter's getting a whole sleeve done.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Ooh.
It's awesome.
Yeah, she got part of it done, and then it took her a couple of years with how tattoo guys are. It takes a while to get an appointment.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
now she's got 2, 3 or 4 hour sessions into it now, and now it's going to be mostly color.
They're
Nice.
so
Nice.
much fun. I'm going to be, I'm pretty covered, but I'm trying to be like completely, not my neck or my hands or some shit, but you know,
Right.
I want to be covered. I want
You're
my
already
back
pretty
and
much
my
covered.
stomach done.
Show him your arms,
Oh,
Pat. He hasn't seen your
Well,
arms.
I mean, I'm just, I got all kinds of stuff all over the place.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, he's covered in tattoos. That's good.
I love that shit. I'm working on my legs right now. That feels like a damn steak knife dragging in my leg.
I bet.
I like it on the legs more than I like it on the arms or body.
Yeah, I'm a bitch.
Uh,
So.
Larry, I was curious. Before I know you got to go, but the two on your the forearms that I can kind of see right there, they look like Nordic runes.
Yep.
I was I've seen them in
They are.
Wardruna albums and stuff like that.
Tell me about 'em.
like what are those about?
So I took my daughter to Iceland last year, and we rented a camper van and we toured. We did part of the whatever it's called, the big road around Iceland. We
Okay.
did part of it, and then actually, this was an amazing trip because, I do know some folks through Facebook, and then also I have met them in person, but through Naked and Afraid. And this one gal from Naked and Afraid, I just started asking her questions about Iceland because she lives there. She's from the States, but she lives there. And after conversation, she actually offered up her apartment for me and my daughter to stay in for a couple of days in Reykjavik, which is the capital where we flew into. She stayed with her boyfriend or whatever, but she lent us her apartment, was super awesome about it. And then also I know a different guy who I taught at Nicole Appelian, which was on my season. Anyway,
I know you're
I
talking
teach
about.
her once in a great while. And at when we were teaching a class there, she had a friend there who had a tattoo artist in Iceland. So I had Danny from Naked and Afraid that helped us secure a place in Reykjavik. I knew a person that did tattoos, and then Danny also hooked me up with a photographer that does, like how you can get those old West pictures done, but
Yeah.
it was a Viking portrait done. So this one means friendship because that trip was just, all about my daughter and me and stuff, but also it was so many friends of just random people came together to make us have that awesome trip. And then this one is a combination of two, they kind of ward off spells and bad thoughts and things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like that a lot.
Thank you so much for your time, Larry. We
yeah.
really appreciate you. Do you have anything closing out that you want to tell to everybody? Any final statement or message to our listeners that you could give?
If someone was going to want to go on alone, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give them, or would you tell them don't do it?
The biggest piece of advice, I guess, is just to make sure that you really want it. There's a lot of people who have talked to me over the years who say, and it's no fault to them. It's just they don't understand. They say, "Oh yeah, I went camping for 3 weeks, or I used to live in Alaska and stuff." And then you kind of pin them down, and you're like, "Okay, did you have a gun?" Well, yeah, we had a gun. We had this. We had that.
You're like,
Just-
We had
bitch.
snowmobiles. We had everything we need to hang out our
Right.
food.
But, and they say, well, we were alone, or I went camping with this person for a while, or I just went by myself, or either way, just make sure you realize what you're dealing with and make sure that you understand potentially that your time can affect not only you, but other people around you. And you have to make sure that the other people around you are 100% behind you. If my wife wasn't 100% behind me, there have been people before and after me that have tapped because their family or whatever wasn't behind them. So you have to make sure that you have a discussion with your family and make sure they're behind you. And if they're not, then it's a pretty selfish deal, it was a selfish deal for me. And I told my wife, I said, this is very selfish of me. And she said, yeah, but it's okay. So I don't know. Obviously make sure your skills are up to par and stuff like that, and make sure you get some camera training. It's not a bad idea to test out a Facebook Live or a test out a YouTube thing or something like that to get the camera skills.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, in season 2, I think I had a big advantage over, well, not a big, I do think I had a big advantage over some of the people because I had done YouTube and I got
absolutely.
over self-conscious looking at the camera and seeing yourself and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I got over that. It took me a while to get over that, like probably 2 years of YouTube, because I don't put myself out there that much. And then I got comfortable with it, and then it was fun. And then it takes a little bit of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's great
And
advice.
plus you have to hate mice, man.
I really wanted to. I wish we had time to hear about the mice because I've been meaning to ask you about it, but I just keep forgetting about it. But I just want to say thanks so much for coming on, man. Like, you were fucking awesome. This was a privilege
Thank
for
you.
me because I
Truly,
fucking love
Larry.
that show. You're a badass motherfucker for sure, and I'm glad you got your redemption too, man.
We love you, Larry.
Well,
Larry,
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, boys. I'm sorry, Larry. I have to. Otherwise, I'm gonna get shit for it. Just answer it as quick as possible. We'll get off this. The way that it was just wrapped up was fantastic. But this is a question for my girlfriend. When she was watching the show with me, she said, please, when you're on the podcast, please ask Larry this. And I forgot all the way up until the last moment because I'm an asshole. But if you were trapped on a desert island and you can only bring one thing, not 10 things, one specific thing, standard desert island, what would you bring and why?
Everybody always asks this question.
Yeah, I know.
So the problem with that
I
is you have to know the environment to be able to pack your items.
Yeah.
Either that, or you can pack a certain group of items, usually no less than 5. That's the way I've trained, and that's the way I teach people. There's 5 items you need usually. Okay. You need a fire starting device. You need a container. You need cordage. You need cover. Cover could be clothes.
Tarp.
Could be tarp. Could be clothes. Could be whatever. And I can't remember what the hell the other one was.
Poisonous berries?
No. Container. Cordage. Combustion. I can't remember. Anyway, there's one more. But anyway, you need the container, right? So if you're on a desert island, is the water, how are you getting your water?
Yeah.
Right? And if you have a metal container, you can boil your water, and that's how you purify water. Okay? So you need the combustion device. You can either research how to make primitive fire, which can take you 4 to 6 hours to make a bow drill fire, or you can pack that ferro rod device, and then the container, you need to be able to boil water. If you had a natural spring, or, I mean, the desert island, you don't know what I mean, you
Sure.
can carry it.
I understand. Yeah.
Knows, but you need like 5 items. And if you message me, I'll give you the right list, because there's one I'm forgetting.
I'm sorry to end on a bad question.
Yeah, I'll
guys.
message you because I'm super curious about that. I'll message you
Those are
after
the
this.
5 hardest items to recreate nature. Okay, cordage, you have to like twist up natural fiber,
Yeah.
right? And fiber is good in tensile strength, but not necessarily abrasion strength. Okay, a container, you can like find a coconut husk, but you know how hard that's going to be to boil water in.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. Anyway, my wife just got home, but message me and I'll give you the list.
Thank
Yeah.
you so
Thanks
much for your
so much,
time, Larry.
Yeah.
Thanks for answering all of our
We
questions.
love you.
Check out Larry on Alone season 2 and 5. Go and check out Larry Roberts on YouTube. He's phenomenal. Larry, if you ever want to come back, please let us know. We'd love to have you
Yeah.
back anytime
Really
that you want.
Love to have you.
You have a great time, man. We're going to do our reads for our podcast now. Our advertisers, feel free to disconnect if you don't have the time, but thank you so much.
Yeah, you can hop off,
We
man.
appreciate you, dude. This
Right
episode,
on.
yeah, man, see
Take
you.
Thank
care.
you, guys.
This episode, as all episodes, is sponsored by the amazing, the incredible, the talented, the long dick wizard, Anthony Tank Mansfield. Mansfield runs the Kneel to No One brand. You guys know it. You love it. You can get all of your incredible glassware, all of your good drinkware, all your good beer glasses, all your enamel pens, all of your custom art starting at $30 from this bad motherfucker. Go and check out his website or his Instagram or www.com, whatever. Kneel to No One, KNEELTONOONE.com. Anthony Tank Mansfield. He's a bad motherfucker. Check him out. Luke,
And
what do
he's
you
daddy.
got?
He's daddy.
We are also
Daddy.
sponsored by Scarlet Vape and Smoke Shop. Scarlet Vape and Smoke Shop has all of your top of the line heady glassware, cradle needs, and any sort of equipment that you got for your tobacco.
It'll make your dick way bigger.
Way bigger. And
They
if
might
you,
open up a third store soon. I wanted to say
Ooh,
that.
look
real
at that,
quick.
an
I
expansion.
don't know
Triple the
much
penis
about it,
size.
but hey, they're a fucking awesome store. Fucking go check that shit out.
So if you want to
and,
go check them out, go check them out at one of their 2 locations that are actively up. 937 Monmouth Street, Newport, Kentucky, 41071. Or you can go to 11424 Montgomery Road, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45249. And go ahead and get that nice, sweet, shiny, heady glassware.
Yeah, boy. Definitely go check that out. Also, go check out our last sponsor, Clifton Barbers, on 337 Ludlow Avenue. Go to their Instagram or Facebook. Just put in Clifton Barbers. You'll see it pull up. And everyone that has a personal account there is going to have that. Just go check it out. You can see all the cool haircuts they do.
Hit up
No
Cody Best
walk-in.
specifically.
Yeah, hit up Cody Best.
Sorry, Pat.
Man,
Sorry.
no, don't say sorry. Don't ever say sorry about Cody Best. You hear me? Cody Best is the best. And
He's
you
the
wanna go
one that
get
gave us the
best
money.
haircut.
Apparently, he was the one giving us the money. So fuck Clifton Barbers. Just go to Clifton
Just
Barbers
go to
for Cody
go to
Best.
Cody Best.
But
He gave us
also,
the money.
but also not fuck Clifton Barbers. also support them.
So they're
Luke's
not
right.
taking any
Luke's
walk-ins.
right.
They're not taking any walk-ins at the moment due to COVID. Same day appointments, so either show up and get scheduled or call in and get a spot. They also have online booking. Right now, it's cash only. 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tuesday through Friday. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday. Just go ahead, check them out. Check them out on Instagram, all that shit.
And check out
also-
Dark Mountain Cold. God damn it. Go over there and
Check out
ask
Dark
Patrick
Mountain Cold.
Seda. Go and fucking check out Dark Mountain Cold. I swear to God, if you don't, I'll come to your house and I don't know what I'll do. I'll probably just drop an angry letter
cut
in your
your head
mailbox
off.
because I've got 2 kids
I'll
to
take a
protect.
shit on your
and I'm
front
not gonna
yard.
do any jail time. I mean, Luke will do some jail time to shit in your front yard.
I'll take
Me,
a shit in your
just
front
an
yard.
angry letter. Just an angry letter properly delivered into your mailbox. That's all. Luke, shit in your front yard if you don't go and check out Patrick's fucking Instagram at Dark Mountain Cold. And go and
Check
get
it
some
out. Let
fucking
me do some
amazing
art
art.
for you, man.
Pat, tell him what you
I'm
got.
doing lots of I do a lot of I'm a big ass nerd, as we all know. Me and Luke are the big nerds of the show.
What? I played
And-
90 hours of Zelda in the last like
Oh,
3
I
weeks.
I play Zelda. Ooh.
Cody, if I don't have time for video games.
What are those comic books, Luke? Look at those.
Oh,
look at those
look,
comic
never
look
books.
at
read
me.
these
I have
comic books.
old,
He just-
super outdated
he's a Spark
Spawn
Notes
comics. I'm
bitch.
for sure a validated nerd.
So basically, I do a lot
Oh,
of
not
gaming
enough
art. I
today,
do a lot of
nerd.
art of just like interesting shit that's like geometric and stuff. If you want to check it out, I'd be happy to do it. I'm trying to make it more of like a game page. I post what kind of games I'm playing. Let's just fucking talk about nerdy shit. It'd be
It's
fun.
amazing. It's really good
That's
art.
all it is. Go check
love
it
your
out,
art.
and I'd love to make something for you.
I legitimately love your art,
but yeah.
Pat. Somebody
Yeah.
should go and buy it. Everybody should go and buy it.
Everybody
It's
should
been on a
pay me
bunch of
money for
T-shirts. Scarlet
art.
Vape and Smoke, one of our sponsors, has it. Jay Armstrong,
Good t-shirt.
the last comedian, has a T-shirt with it on it. I mean, there's numerous people that I know that have this tattooed on them for the rest of their life. You make really quality shit,
Pretty-
man. People
pretty
wouldn't.
stoked on it.
People wouldn't put this on their merch. People wouldn't fucking put this on their body for the rest of their life unless it was good. I wouldn't hang it in my fucking house if it wasn't good.
I wouldn't talk to you if you weren't good. I don't
Wow.
I don't hang around shitty people. You know what I mean? Top quality friends only.
Why are you
If you're
in
not
my
good at
house?
For you
stuff,
guys.
if you guys aren't good at stuff, don't talk to me or try bother like being my
Luke, for you
friend.
to say that in the midst of all this, it just means a lot, man. Means a
Love
lot.
you, Pat. Love
Hey,
what you do.
But that was a good episode. I'm glad
Spoiler alert.
I could for a moment there. Can we talk about? I can talk.
Yeah,
till
we
9.
got a
If you
second.
guys
We're
wanna
done
talk
with the reads.
till-
Let's go. I'm gonna
Can we
piss.
talk about till 9? Can we talk for another 20 minutes?
Yeah,
yeah,
let's
I'm
do
gonna
it.
get pissed. Keep talking.
Like I honestly, I was super glad that Larry came on, man. Like that was really fascinating.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was
super crazy.
it was cool to finally like, because like I had said to him, like I have seen almost every season of like Life Below Zero. You know what I mean? Like that
gotta
whole
watch that.
show, aside from the one girl Susan, like
What
they're
is that
all,
show about exactly?
It's a
Like
bunch of-
I just heard about it. I don't know anything about it. Like, is it survival kind of shit?
Yeah. So like for the most part, it's a bunch of maniacs who are like, I don't like living a normal job. I like doing stuff with my own hands and getting food by myself. So I'm gonna live out here in Alaska, 200 some odd miles above the Arctic Circle, and I'm just gonna live. And there's a guy named Glenn who's very similar to Larry, who like lives with his wife, but then like large periods of the year he flies to his camp in Alaska and he just lives there and he just does whatever. There's that guy, and then there's like Sue Akins, who runs like a survival camp at the top of the world for like any hunter flyers that need to
Whoa.
stop for gas for emergency. They go to her, and it's just her by herself, like almost all year out in this winter that like covers her house with snow. Like she's got to actively dig all the time year round. Like
How
the
the
shit
fuck
is
do you
crazy.
even get there? How do you get in that position in life?
Dude, I have no idea, man.
How do you become the airport gas lady in the top part of the entire world and constantly shoveling all day?
But
What were you guys
that's
saying? How
to get there?
basically. I was talking about well, I was getting to it, but I was talking about people in Life Below Zero. Like, I watched that show, and it's these maniacs just trying to survive up there. And like I had said, I had seen every season, so I really like these characters that have been since season 1. So I've always wanted to like get into their heads and their mind space. And it was just really nice to like sit down and talk to this guy and ask the questions I wanted to ask. Like I know Rogan has had both Sue and Glenn from Life Below Zero on the show, which were both excellent episodes. But I mean, it was just really, really nice to get my questions asked to this guy.
Before Larry was coming on, I was actually talking to Jordan, who, spoiler alert, if you haven't heard it yet about the show, in the Netflix series version of Alone, which was like the 6th season, I think, there was a guy named Jordan who won, and he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he's like the most famous of them all. Like he shot a fucking moose and had to fight off a wolverine the whole time, and he was starving while having all this moose meat and shit. It was fucking crazy watching his journey. He was going to come on the show, but then Larry answered first. So
let's have Jordan too.
Hey,
Why
let's
can't
get
we have
them
both?
Let's get them both.
I
If
should
Jordan
definitely
wants to
hit him
come
up.
on, I'd love to have Jordan if he's
Yeah,
listening.
because he like grew up with like Inuits and shit. I
Good
bet if
Lord.
we
Yeah,
hit up
dude.
the people
there's
from below, what you were saying, Luke,
Yeah,
we
do
can
it.
hit him up and maybe get him on the show.
there's one guy who married a Native Alaskan, an Inuit, and his children are descendants of
Man,
that.
if
And he
anybody's-
trained with his wife's father, who was like a tribe's headsman. So how he sustenance hunts and lives in Alaska in this small village is exactly how the so like you only get what you use in your life, you eat, you wear, mostly out in the wild. You know, like they make these vests from sealskin,
It's
and
the
then they
opposite of
trade with
sport
like
owning.
they
you
like
kill an animal, you use single bit of it.
everything.
Yeah.
They'll use the bones for stuff. They'll eat all the meat. Then they'll take the skin
You
and make
respect
it like
the
a
animal.
vest and like trade it for other food or equipment with like a fellow villager. Like, yeah, dude, that motherfucker's
I just got to hit him up on
crazy.
Instagram. If you
Do
can
it.
give me,
I'm
if you
sure they
message
would.
me some names,
I got
that's
you.
how we get any of these people.
got
by
you.
the
You
way,
guys know we're
listeners.
still recording, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. Whatever. Who
I was
cares?
just I don't care. I was just making sure you guys
I mean,
knew.
seriously,
didn't
if you want to have a conversation with the people that we've had conversations with, just fucking message them.
Yeah.
yeah,
message
it's not hard to get.
That's
a
how I
hold of
got
people.
Larry. That's how I got Johnny Fairplay. That's the fucking Spalding company. You just shoot them a message.
Yeah,
and
we don't
sometimes they
have
answer,
like a
sometimes they don't.
super manager that reaches out to people.
No, we
It's
do.
like-
We
Just
do. It's
Instagram.
Patrick. No, I'm being dead serious. I'm not kidding. It's Pat. No, if we
Super
didn't have Pat, we
manager.
wouldn't have
Right.
these people.
Yeah.
Like, no, seriously, all the credit goes to Pat. I mean, I go out of my way to book people that I like in the local area, but it's not that interesting. Like it's fun for me because I can riff and have fun. If you're into that, if you're into just
Dude,
like jokes and stuff, yeah, sure. The people that we have relationships with are fun, but if you want new and interesting people, you need somebody like Pat. That's
Yeah,
not
you have
afraid to like reach out to the people that he's interested in. And Pat, you've done an amazing job at this. And like, if any of you guys feel like you listen to this and you're like, I could do a better job, do it. Go do a podcast. Go
do a podcast.
And
Go
then-
do a
and
better
then
podcast
pay
than us.
Patrick to go get your guest.
I'm not even
Pay
saying
me
that.
money to get you a good guest.
He'll
to
just
message
fucking
random
watch-
celebrities.
He'll give you all our old shitty guests. You fucking second-rate podcast. You
Yeah.
piece of shit.
Remember the episode we didn't release? I got that guest for you.
Too
Yeah.
inside baseball and all this. I was just saying, like, if you listen to this and you think we suck, yeah, go start your own. See if it's as easy as you
Try
think.
and be
Yeah.
better than us.
But,
you
like,
bitch.
Pat's
You
really good
fucking
at-
weak-ass bitch.
Pat, you're really good at finding these people like that are actually interesting to talk to. Like Johnny Fairplay, fantastic. This guy,
Can
fantastic.
I talk about this one guest that I really wanted to have on and just
Hype
didn't
him up.
work out?
Let's
I
get the
think- I
fans
don't
to
think
hype.
we
us
Let's
up.
talk
mentioned it.
shit.
Let's talk shit. Do you guys remember seeing Wild Boys back in the day on MTV with
Yeah,
I
Steve
man,
still
it
wait.
was
Let's not
Pontius?
talk shit. I still want to make this happen. I love
Yeah,
that.
I
guy.
wanna
I
make
still
this
want to make it
happen.
happen too. But we almost got Manny, the
Yeah.
fucking Crocodile Hunter version of this world, whatever, and Wild Boys, the Wild Boys version of
It would have.
Crocodile Hunter.
It'll be great.
But he gave me his fucking phone number, and I was texting him for a while, and he's not a very fast texter. But when he finally texted me back, he's like, "Yeah, tell me all the details about it," and then he never responded. Like, he gave me his fucking cell
We're
phone
not
number
big
and all
enough.
that shit.
The problem is
I'm
we don't have
like-
the numbers to sustain it.
Nah,
Larry's
dude.
nice enough. Johnny was nice enough. We just don't have the
We'll get
numbers to
Manny.
sustain it. I mean, it's not that we don't have any numbers,
I'm gonna
but
message
like
him again.
once we
I'm
get a
gonna
little bit
message him
bigger,
again.
it's going to take some time.
Listen,
We're going to get
listen
there.
here, listeners. We
We're
got
at the
numbers,
beginning of
all right,
this.
but we got big numbers. We got numbers.
Look, we got
bigger than
Larry
yours.
No, we
fucking
don't.
Roberts.
Don't lie to
We
the
got
listeners.
numbers way bigger than your numbers, listener.
Just go to the
Yeah.
YouTube and you'll see.
We're kind of a big deal.
Nah, fuck YouTube.
Yeah, go to the YouTube. See
You
all
try to judge us
8
on our
views
YouTube,
on
I'll
each
fight
video.
you, dude.
Go to our YouTube and tell us how big our dicks are.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
try us.
all
Try
8
and make a podcast better than ours, and then fight me. All right?
Yeah, fight Luke.
Larry's gonna be so embarrassed to have came on this podcast. Like, that was a
It
really
just
good time.
descended
And then he
as
listened
soon
to,
as he got off.
yeah, exactly. He listened to the last 15 minutes, and he was like, "Oh, did they smoke methamphetamine after I got off the episode?" Like, just
No,
taunting.
how
Well,
cool
now
was
I
that,
feel like
Cody,
we have
though,
to talk
fucking
shit to drive it
meet
home.
this
Yeah, fuck
dude?
you, Larry. It's like, no. It's like, no, don't do it.
I mean, think about it though. Like Cody, you got hooked on this show. Like, how cool is it to like fucking meet someone that does this shit
It's
for
dope.
a living? That's crazy.
I thought he was gonna have the beard for a second when I pulled his YouTube up
Yeah.
early in the show. I was looking at Luke like, is this the same fucking dude? But then I found another video where it's all shaved because he gave me the wrong name. For listeners that are curious, if you just type in Larry Roberts on the YouTube, the one that I watched will come up, the one with like 12.2K followers or whatever. He was telling us that Learning Over 40 thing. I'm sure that he has another channel, but is he even aware that he has another channel that
I
says
think he
Larry
said
Roberts?
that he has like 2 or 3 because there was the
Okay.
one we found. There was the Learning After 40, and then he said there was Larry Roberts alone.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one that I found, and that's the one that I really liked a lot because it
Okay.
had the intuitive, like, learning how to make a fire out of nothing.
Right.
It was
I wish I
fantastic.
remember to ask him about the mice. Like the whole time I wanted to ask him because like if you haven't watched this show, both seasons he has like fucking issues with mice, and they always throw in little facts in the bottom and stuff like one mouse is the same caloric intake as a pizza roll, and he's just like fucking picking off these mice, and he has like a personal vendetta against the mice.
Dude,
And at one point, he's like bear macing underneath his shelter and stuff to get the
He's
mice
bear
out.
macing mice.
Yeah. It's
When he
great.
finally
It's
kills it, he
fucking
was
quality
stoked.
television.
He was so stoked after he finally killed that mice in that Vancouver season. It was fucking awesome.
Dude, I'd be eating all of the mice.
It's,
No, you
it's just, like,
wouldn't.
I mean, the people like, dude, they have like no meat. What? It's like a pizza roll. Imagine like
happening?
catching a furred animal, like you smash it with a deadfall,
Right.
which is those rocks that smash when like you go under it, it smashes you.
Now you got to peel the
You have to
fur off
peel
of.
off the fur. You have to
Take the
get
bones
the
out.
organs out. Don't pierce the gallbladder or whatever. And then you have to cook it, and start a fire and all this shit, and then eat it, and you get one pizza roll. Would you do
No,
all that work
thanks.
for one pizza roll?
Hey,
No.
bro,
I don't
if I'm
think so,
out there
bud.
holding my stomach like, oh, I'm gonna die. Yeah, you fucking bet your ass I'm splitting that
Fucking
rat
bet
open.
it,
I don't
bro.
give a shit. I don't give 2 fucks about that rat. I'm dying on the side of this island. I need food.
there were,
Give me that fucking rat roll. I don't give a shit.
There were some people there like that would say, "Oh, I got a mouse." Like they'd go right up in their shelter and shit, and be like, "I guess I'm having a snack before bed," and they'll just do all that work for that little mouse. I'm just like, that
Fucking
is crazy.
yes.
It's
Yes.
craziness.
I think
These
we can
people
all
are bad motherfuckers.
Definitely.
dude.
We can
All
all
of
agree
them.
Larry was a badass. It was
For sure.
fantastic to get to talk to him. Anybody listening, please go check him out. Can't wait
Yeah.
to talk to
And
him.
then challenge me in a fight.
Absolutely. Challenge Luke
So
to a fight.
surprised that he came on the show. There was
Yeah.
like a moment where he was like, "We're gonna have to reschedule," and I was like, "Really? Please don't. We're booked until November. Please."
Yeah, that would have sucked.
So
dick,
long.
too. I'm so excited to get to talk to him. Not just because he was on like, I mean, yeah, whatever. He was on Alone, so yeah, I'm sure that people are interested in that. But the reason that he's on Alone is because he's so fucking talented. Like he's got this vast like amount of information on all this shit. Like he's just a gold mine. I'd love to have this guy back. Like I don't give a fuck about the notoriety of the guy. Just his
wanna
information.
talk to
If he
him.
was just my friend that nobody else had met, I would be like, dude, we got to get this guy on every month. Like just sit here
Yeah.
and grill him about wildlife facts because he's got so much fucking information. Next week, if you guys are interested, we have on recurring guest Danny Babcock. That's Danny Gamble.
Oh, I
He's
can't
been-
wait.
He's been painting murals down in downtown Cincinnati. He's finally starting to get back on the podcast game. He's given up his Facebook, so don't try to find him there. But go and find him, Danny
He's the
Gamble,
man.
on Instagram. He's the fucking man. I mean, he's done.
I missed him last time, unfortunately, which I
he's-
hate.
Dude, he's
I
phenomenal.
love talking to that guy.
He had such a good like conspiracy theory idea.
It was
wasn't-
awesome.
It wasn't traditional. Like it's not like Robert Reynolds conspiracies where they're fun.
It
but
was-
they're-
it was
they're
We
logical.
should call
Very
Robert
logical.
Reynolds, though.
I'd love to. I'd love to
I
sit
will,
down.
I will
get-
set that up. Maybe we could do a half and half episode
Can you
coming up.
for sure set up Robert Reynolds coming just for like a segment, just for like 20 minutes of Danny Gamble's time for conspiracy theory shit? Because I'd love to hear. We sit
yeah.
back, we don't say shit, we just let fucking Robert and Danny go back and forth as two men of similar fucking ages be able
Next
to
week?
No,
The
not
You want to do it
similar.
next
similar.
week?
what?
Not similar.
Not similar, but
Wait,
I mean,
you want to do it
ages.
next week with Danny Gamble?
Yeah, get him to come on because that'd be a good
You free this coming
for sure.
Tuesday big boy.
All right, we can do this. We can do this not on the air. Thank you guys
who
so
cares?
much for listening. We really appreciate it. Go
Really.
and check out next week's episode with Danny Gamble. We can't wait to have you guys back. Love you all. Any final closing statements from my friends Patrick and Luke?
Go fuck yourself, Cody.
Yeah,
You're a bitch.
actually, right
like that
now
one.
with
I like that one. It's gonna be hard to top that one, Luke. Go ahead though.
right now with me going back to work, I have a set schedule right now, and it may be permanent, it may not be, but I just want to put it out there, especially to you two boys, about finally setting up. I know we had some people say something about it on the Facebook group about starting up Twitch. You know, I think I'm off on Sundays now regularly. We might, start some Bastard Sermon Xbox live
Dude, yes!
streaming going on.
Let's
you know?
do it.
Phenomenal.
We'll get a couple hours in with you guys join me and Patrick. Maybe we'll fuck around on Grounded. Maybe we'll do something else. Who knows?
I can give Cody an Xbox. I have an extra Xbox
No
One.
thanks. I don't want it.
I'm the big nerd. My name's Cody. I'm the big nerd. Fuck the Xbox, even if it's free though. Bitch.
I was just
Bitch.
thinking after I saw the Xbox, whatever it's called, the Xbox
Series X.
the Xbox, faggot reveal. What are they gonna?
Okay.
Wait, the Xbox
Okay.
F. I'm sorry, the Xbox F review. What are they
Too
gonna?
late.
What are they gonna? What are you guys getting excited about as the Xbox nerds? Like,
I just like Xbox.
To be honest, there's
oh, you just like Xbox. I mean,
there's
I'm just
no-
totally,
Yeah, it's a better
I'm just
user
totally into that
interface.
X. That X is super
Fine.
cool, dude.
Let Luke go.
I mean, I know that there's no cool games coming out at all that justifies me spending $700 in tax.
No, I completely agree. I think that Xbox doesn't really have anything announced for it that really has caught my eye. I'll give you that. PlayStation
True.
for sure has the games, but I do think that Xbox is stronger. I do
Superior
think that it
system.
will eventually have bigger games to announce that will
Yeah.
outsell PlayStation.
Yeah.
And
you're
to me,
yeah.
this whole time since like the beginning, Xbox has had just an infinitely friendlier UI system than PlayStation
agree.
ever has.
I agree. Every single time I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima like a motherfucker. I'm like 70 hours into that game. I'm almost done with it. I think I got 2 missions left.
Oh, I
And
beat it.
I think every single time I'm playing that game, I fucking hate PlayStation. The system sucks. The system sucks. The fucking
That's how I feel
way
every
it
time that I touch an
navigates
Xbox.
sucks. The Xbox
The Xbox
system
is
navigates
garbage.
so smoothly, but I will say,
Yeah, if you're used to
with Luke,
trekking through
that
a sewer
PlayStation
system full of shit,
5, that
if you're used to
PlayStation-
swimming through
the
human turds.
PlayStation 5 will have better games. It will have better games.
Oh, but the
going out.
menus will be so much cooler on the Xbox. So buy a
True.
$700 console because the menus will be
It's
way
600,
better
bitch.
to get through.
600.
Oh yeah,
Right?
600 plus the
I'm
tax.
buying
It'll
them
be
both
$700.
online.
Yeah, I'll for
bitch.
sure have them both without question.
buying
but
'em both.
Xbox over PlayStation.
But Cody, I'm playing Zelda. Zelda is really good.
I know shit.
It's 90 hours. Yep.
Dude,
So
you
guys,
found Legend
seriously,
of Zelda 3 years
Here's
after
my
it released.
here's my
Bitch.
serious Xbox versus PlayStation 5 argument. Am I gonna have to edit out the part where I said faggot? Because I mean I don't want to.
You said baguette. I think.
Yeah, baguette. It's been this thing's been stuttering all day. Baguette. I don't have to edit out where I say baguette, the French bread, right?
Right.
That's not gonna be a problem for any of our listeners, is it? Like French bread doesn't offend
Cody,
anybody, does it?
PlayStation sucks compared to Xbox.
Yep.
Just let it be, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let it be. There's no defending it. You've
Just
always
be
been
defeated.
a little PlayStation
There's no defending that we have
buddy.
better exclusives, better fucking like.
Yeah, you might have better exclusives, but you're playing those exclusives all alone by yourself in your quiet room. Meanwhile, I'll be in an Xbox Live party with my friends talking shit about this game.
Well,
I'm playing.
you baguettes have fun jerking each other off into your fucking white, pale, pasty consoles, and I'll enjoy having
Oh,
fun.
I
exclusive
got-
Alright, anyways.
titles.
Can I say something that's not a video game
No,
related?
fuck you. I'm turning it
Nah,
off.
I got
let's do
something I
it.
gotta say really quick.
Nope.
Before we go.
Not happening, bitch.
Would you guys be cool if I had a surprise guest on the show? If I didn't tell you anything about it, I'd be like, "Hey, can I just have this guy
When?
on?" And we just call
When?
him.
What date?
I don't know, like whenever date I feel like
Sure.
figuring it out.
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
why not? But this
No
is
matter what
this
it is, no
your
matter what the
one,
guest is.
This is your one chance, Patrick. If you
Trust me,
make
it'll be
this
worth it.
surprise guest a flop,
The guy that brought on a Nazi is telling you that.
it was a surprise guest and it was my one time.
That was a surprise.
It was a surprise to me. I didn't know he was a Nazi. I mean, come
That was a
on.
big surprise.
Is it my dead dad?
Surprise.
Did you get my dead dad? You got a Ouija board and brought my dead dad
No,
back?
he dug up your
I'm gonna
dad's
get you guys
fucking
an
grave.
email, and no matter what happens, no matter what's said, no matter what's done during the episode, no matter how pissed off you get specifically, Cody, you're cool with it?
I don't care.
Now I have to try to figure
Is it
out
Joe
who Cody
Volman?
would fucking hate.
Fuck no, it's not that dude.
Fuck Joe Volman. Hey, just for a second, let me just say I don't give a fuck that you can book some garbage ass fucking
Yeah, fuck you,
horror
Joe
hound
Volman.
actors. Joe Volman. I don't give a
Piece
fuck.
of
I'm saying your
shit.
name, you fucking piece of shit. Oh, you could
Oh,
get
How
the
bad
guy.
do you wish you were
Oh,
a
didn't
fourth
you want
host?
the stunt actor that worked on Friday the 13th? No, I could book my own local podcast just
don't
fine.
You wish,
Fuck
Joe,
face.
Don't you wish, Joe, how
Suck a
bad
dick,
you were
Joe
a
Volman.
fourth
This
host
is
of
months
this
late.
show?
Listen to
This
him.
is months
Piece
late.
of shit.
Sorry, I just as soon as
Listen
I
to
thought
him.
about it, I immediately got angry. What a spiked hair fucking 40-year-old dick this guy is. What a loser going to horror hound, and that's like your main job
Imagine
at 40
being
years
40
old.
and your
Some
whole
people-
aesthetic is Halloween.
Some people run businesses at your age, Joe.
Damn.
Some people can retire on the money that they've made. Some people have actual life skills. You're just some old
people have friends.
dork with a fucking shitty smash mouth haircut, and you go and creep on fucking 17-year-olds on Facebook, and then Kane Hodder could come on your fucking shitty podcast, but you're mean to me,
Allegedly.
so no thanks. Oh, yeah. By the way, Joe Volman is just a character that I've made up inside of my head. If he resembles any actual likeness to any person in real life,
Allegedly.
that is just a unfortunate coincidence.
Please don't
that
sue us.
Yeah, no, don't please not sue us. It's just there's nothing to sue us for. Joe Volman is a name that I've made up entirely of my own volition, and this is Cody Hucker speaking, not the bastard sermon when he says Joe Volman sucks a fat old fucking sack of rancid donkey
yeah,
cum.
you piece of
It-
fucking imaginary
Yeah,
shit.
imaginary fucking
Kill
fuckface.
your imaginary self.
I'm trying
Put a
ev-
gun in your
Wow,
imaginary
what
head
is
and
going
pull the
on?
imaginary trigger and have your imaginary brains fly all over
bring
the
him up.
goddamn room.
Yeah, Joe Volman, you fake
I didn't
imaginary
even bring
character.
this dude up.
I'm so
Like,
sorry if our imaginary character that we
God,
made
I
up
love talking shit.
bears any resemblance to any real life person, because we'd actually, seriously, we would actually never wish harm to anybody, and we would never talk shit. We would never even get angry at another person, right, Luke? Me and you never angry at a real person ever. Just fictional characters all the time. It's a Joe
You're
Volman
only
is a
mad
completely
at fake
fictional
people.
human being. If his name sounds like anybody that's real, that's an absolute fabrication
That's
by
so
our
wild.
part.
That's a crazy coincidence.
And if I've talked to somebody like this online, and if this ever appears in a court, and somebody's like, how could you not know that this is a real person? You've had extensive online arguments with a person by the same name. I would argue,
oh, that's so long.
I would argue, sir
First name I
or
thought of.
ma'am, I would argue, sir or ma'am, I'm an alcoholic and I forget everything. And they'd be like, they'd bang their big gavel and they'd be case dismissed. And
Huh,
I'd
I
beat,
guess you're right, Cody.
beat imaginary Joe Woman's ass in the streets of the...
with
All right,
with
all right,
a
we can't
fucking
now.
book of law.
Anyways, I have a surprise guest that I want to book at some point, and you guys just can't question. If I say, "Hey, tonight's a surprise guest," you guys just got to be like, "All right,
All right, that's fine.
I don't care.
that's it." No matter what happens, you can't disconnect this person. No matter what's said, no
God,
matter
who do
how
we
pissed
hate?
off you
Who do
get.
we hate and have not wanted on the show? Because he's
It's not that-
really
you don't
driving it
hate
home
him.
that we can't boot him off.
What is the problem with the guest? Can you,
don't
give us a
hate-
couple
no,
hints
It's just
or clues?
I have a plan.
Okay,
What is your plan?
okay.
What, you think I'm going to tell you?
I thought I
Think I'm
might
going to
be.
confide in my
I
plan
want the
with you
surprise.
two?
No
I
spoilers.
thought I might be able to get
No,
you
let's
right
wrap
there.
this up. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to this episode with Larry Roberts. It was a great fucking time. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, much love, bitches.
I don't love anybody.